credible source of broadcast news and entertainment for this community.
Can you maybe get into how this differentiates you from legacy media, which we see as maybe maybe you can tell me a dying art form per se, how you guys differentiate and kind of get ahead of social media today, AI, and everything that comes with that?
It's a great question. I think that, legacy media by definition is old. And the folks that run it are traditionally in the United States and really all around the world, but traditionally in the United States, they're family run businesses. You look at the Murdochs, for example, News Corp, an incredible company that's been built over many, many years. Fox Business is fairly new in the broadcast landscape if you really look at it. And, these are all family run businesses, Viacom and so on. Viacom now just sold to Skydance, which is now a family-run technology business by Larry Ellison and Oracle and his son, David Ellison. And I think they're going to do some really radical things at Paramount Viacom. I think David is going to transform the feature film, the traditional entertainment marketplace. And we're very aligned with what their vision is because it's similar to ours, except we want to radicalize and, use the technology in a way to empower, inform, have our content checked on chain and have provenance behind everything we do for news and entertainment. I mean, look, here's the thing. People are watching video that's coming from a variety of different sources, right? You guys, you guys are producers, you're creators, you're credible, you have an audience. People are listening to what you have to say because they trust what you have to say. That's not every single type of live streamer like you out there. We can have a discussion about that, of course. What we're looking to do is curate the best of breed and validate what they're doing through our accreditation techniques. And also our partnerships. We are Getty editorial partner. I'm a National Press Club member, for example. So we're following rule sets that I think are, that traditional companies follow, but we're just doing it in a more innovative way. The other point to make is that traditional media or broadcast news and entertainment really doesn't represent the spirit of our world, right? Like CNBC and Fox Business are not doing a 24-hour coverage of what's happening in the next economy, what's happening in fintech and Web3. They only like to report on things that are sensationalized. Bitcoin price goes up or it drops. There's a hack. There's this that happened. There's that's happened. The White House makes an announcement, and that's it. They're so focused on competing with each other around the breaking geopolitical story or the story about the drug bust or religion and so on, that they're not looking at the wonderful global community of 500 million people that are part of the trustless generation that really don't have any interest in traditional media, that that challenge government authority and ultimately are taking their savings out of central banking system. That's our audience. Those are the people. Those are our people. Those are who we are and who we want to cater to.
So Mark, I do have a question for you. I come from a media and advertising background. I've been in crypto for 10 years, so seen a lot of what you're discussing coming to fruition. We've seen a lot of legacy media providers, even you can think of like the CoinDesks of the world, Real Visions of the world, who we love, these live stream kind of, not media companies, but they're kind of investment platforms. Our show kind of was risen out of the optimizing towards live streaming away from spaces. And we started 6 months ago and it's garnered 4 million views and we've done really well. And so I just want to get your take on live streaming specifically. Do you think we overtake traditional media over time, or what does live streaming look like kind of the next 6 months to maybe next year?
I really appreciate that question. I have not given myself this moniker, but people have given me the moniker of Godfather of live streaming because I've been doing live streaming since 1995. It's a long time, 30 years. And we really look at it.
Some of us on here weren't born then.
Yeah, that's okay. But keep in mind that the formats that we put in place back in 1996 are still being used today. So live streaming is a delivery mechanism and it's live. We get that. So is a live TV broadcast or live satellite broadcast. The difference in traditional live broadcasting is there is no participation level that the audience can engage in. Whereas with streaming, what I recognized very early on is that, look, this is over the internet, so it has to be participatory. And what does that mean? On a basic level, what we did in 1996 and what is the format today is you have a live stream with a chat room. That never existed before. Anybody can take I've said this for 30 years, anybody can deliver a live stream on the internet. Anybody can do it. And now it's ubiquitous. You're doing it, you can do it from your phone, right? Do it from your Meta glasses. But to make it engaging and participatory, that is what that separates the opportunity on digital delivery platforms over what you're going to see in traditional broadcasting. So I have always been an advocate of live participatory media. Working with SOAR now with this DRP standard, we really are advocating it because we feel that participation is paramount. It's, utility is one thing, but participation is key. So we will move forward with the participatory mindset with our community in order to deliver credible information and, again, entertainment. This is all about promoting adoption at the end of the day. So, we're not trying to be Bloomberg for crypto. I think that's what CoinDesk, which was a publication, attempted to do. And, side note, we actually helped them launch CoinDesk TV. In turn, is giving them some advice, right? We didn't physically do the work. Well, Michael Casey's a friend, and when he was there, they're like, well, how did you pull this off? Because we didn't see them as competition. They're our friend. We want CoinDesk TV to exist. It's unfortunate that their new owners have not continued with that vision, which in some respect helps us because we're the only 24-hour linear broadcast network globally or even domestically that focuses 100% on this subject matter 24 hours a day as a visual storytelling platform. So I think that we beat traditional media networks in very succinct ways. One, they're not focused on our vertical. They just really don't see our community as a community that needs to be recognized and targeted. It's either that or they just don't know how to do it. B, we're definitely using the technology that we're talking about to build the channel. So we're able to operate at 1/1000th or 1/10,000th the cost of any of these traditional broadcast news networks. It's just the scale of what we're able to do with less people is a huge factor for our ability to now accelerate our growth through things like what we're doing with.
So Mark, can I ask about how the media is delivered to the end user? Is it via YouTube channel? Is it on your website? Is it like us on X? What's your method of delivery?
Yeah, all streaming platforms you will be able to find Defiance on. One that we're on that maybe you guys are not on, but perhaps you could be if you become a contributor to Defiance Media, is television, right? Streaming TV, fast, free ad-supported streaming television from an advertising standpoint has already surpassed cable, satellite, and traditional network television. Streaming television is global. Streaming television is available anywhere in the world that you have a device that allows you to connect to the internet. The display is just bigger, and who controls that real estate are traditional media companies: Comcast, Dish, DirecTV, Pluto, Xumo. These MPVD apps are all really aggregators for eyeballs. Then you have others that are like Netflix or HBO, Paramount. These are folks that you download their app or it comes baked into the television and it's there. So that's where the gatekeepers are, right? Because not anybody can just get a streaming television channel. We have about 80 million households through streaming television here in the domestic United States, as well as APAC. We're now expanding into LATAM. And in the new year, we'll have not only the channel being delivered in English, but in Spanish and other multiple languages using AI dubbing.
Yeah, maybe really quick. We actually use some AI dubbing into Chinese. So there's a big Chinese ICM community, and we have a guy running an X account just grabbing clips, dubbing it.
I love it.
And it's actually gone quite well. I mean, the startup costs are not crazy. The accuracy has gone way up recently. And so, yeah.
Well, we're doing it live. So there's a distinction there.
Yeah, that is a distinction for sure.
Yeah. Wow. So it's a, you guys are doing I think it's a 2 to 4 hour show. Imagine running a 24-hour live linear channel for 4 years, 5 years straight with no downtime and filling it with programming that caters to this all media approach. Right now, we go beyond just the linear stream. Just to be clear, the linear stream gets us on TV, which is a piece of real estate we really want, because again, we're targeting that consumer and that retail investor and the kind of prosumer user. We're not looking at the hardcore crypto audience per se. We want folks that are all over the world who tune into Defiance on any device and become part of the community and to learn, and then to learn responsibly, to have fiscal responsibility, have fiscal education, to know what's real and what's not real, giving that credible broadcast news and entertainment to them, I think is something that's definitely needed at this point in time.
Absolutely. So you guys have insane, you have insane distribution. You're streaming for 24 hours, you're streaming 24/7. And I'm assuming it's not just all one show, right? Like I see you guys are on Sling TV, but there's also these like sub shows. Like we saw Crypto NDO, we saw Draper TV. I'm also seeing the Reeve Collins as well. Kind of walk us through, the different shows that you have and how that's going to contribute to Defiant.
And we saw Kevin O'Leary TV as well. Is that a thing?
Yeah, actually Draper TV is a thing, and I'll get to that in a moment. What you're seeing is what you would see on Netflix, or you would see on Hulu or Pluto or NBC or CBS or any 24-hour TV network, CNBC, Fox Business, and so on, CNN. We have a programming wheel for the linear experience of the channel. So the linear experience is just one experience. And yeah, that's 24 hours a day. We have a variety of different types of programming. We have original programming that we create, like the Reeve Collins Show, and which was a special that we did, or the special that we did on Satoshi Roundtable or on the NFFT. These are one-off half-hour to hour programs. We have Defiance Daily, which is updated every hour with breaking news in the next economy, and that's powered by the world's first, digital twin news anchor named Roxana. And she's reporting on all things next economy, fintech, Web3, blockchain, digital currency, so on. We also partner with a variety of different conferences around the world, from Milken to Montgomery Summit to, of course, the Bitcoin magazine guys, Consensus, and a variety of others that are doing these massive conferences. There's a lot of great content there, and since we're a credible editorial outlet, we want to bring some of that highlights from those conferences out to a streaming television audience, which is something they're not reaching right now. Then we have a variety of contributors. Wendy O is one of them. She's great. She's really grown and has become a force in her own right. We're really grateful to have her. Bad Crypto Podcast. You've seen these guys for years. They're funny as hell, and they really break it down for folks to help them understand sort of complex nature of things in an amusing way, and just terrific guys. We have Edge of. Edge of is Josh Krieger and his team. They're doing ongoing coverage from conferences as well as his own conference series. He has his different variety of programming that we air as well. And, we have some other programs that are not necessarily crypto oriented, right? That we feel are really important to highlight. We have our series, the Culture Conversations series. We have Anything is Possible. We have, the What Could Be Bad series with Ben Gershman, which is a mental health show where he's interviewing musicians and technologists. And there is a burnout here that we have to be aware of. So he's addressing those issues from people that are entrepreneurs. We have some other specials, Joby Weeks, Roger Ver, and so on. Tim Draper, we've done a digital twin for Tim Draper called with a show called Draper Decentralized. We did that for about 18 months. That led into Tim inviting us to support his team in launching Draper TV. So drapertv.com is its own channel where he focuses on small businesses and entrepreneurship. So we're definitely like-minded, but different in terms of the markets that we're approaching. So we're very proud to be invited to be a part of that, support Tim and his team to launch their linear channel as well.
And so, can you tell me a little bit about the Reeve Collins, Web3 with Reeve Collins? Can you tell us a little bit about that and his background as well?
Well, Reeve obviously is an incredible entrepreneur. He's had multiple exits. He was one of the founding team at Tether. So was Greg Sellers and a variety of other guys. And Reeve is he's on a bunch of different boards now. So Web3 with Reeve Collins was a few specials that we did in conjunction with him and his producer that were really just highlighting a bunch of talks that he was giving about the future of tokenization and, highlighting some of the businesses that he's working on now. I can't say enough nice things about Reeve. He's been very generous to us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so the way I'm thinking about this, and let me know if I'm correct, I'm thinking about this as like a news, like a TV network, something similar to like a ABC or a TNT. Like this is it is a 24/7 live stream, yes, but it sounds like what you're having is a bunch of different shows on the channel, and it sounds like a TV network.
That's exactly what it is. It's the first AI-powered television news and entertainment channel for the next economy. We look at CNBC and Fox Business as really our competitors, not so much a 24-hour live stream on YouTube by a YouTuber. That's influencer television. We're run by the guidelines of the National Press Club from a journalistic integrity standpoint. We have 5 or 6 different types of AI that are building our packages with an editorial director and a human team that's selecting stories. We're checking provenance on all of our stories that we publish as broadcast video packages. We, of course, aside from the linear channel, we're syndicating all these packages out via social media, TikTok, and of course, X and Instagram and so on. So it's not just a long form show, there's short form content too. So you have to respect the platform that you're distributing to. So yes, we have linear stream and a variety of other programming. And that's exactly it. We feel that we can be that global voice, that global brand that unifies the trustless generation in a community that that they can relate to, and entertainment and news that they can trust and relate to. When I say trust, I mean that it's been verified on chain and that we've been using tools that ultimately determine the authenticity of the information. I think ultimately trust and truth is subjective to one's own personal belief system.
So
And Josh has a question here real quick, but right before he asked that, I wanted to, there's a comment in the comment section by one of our viewers here, Pepe. Did he mention CNET TV was acquired for 1.8 billion? What was his part in that? So we wanted to get your answer to that real quick.
CNET went public in the early 90s, and it first had an IPO, and then it was later acquired, and then acquired again and acquired again. So CNET is a brand that I was associated with. I was one of the founding producers of CNET and the New York bureau chief. I was the first person working with CNET in New York. And at the time, CNET was a variety of TV shows. We had shows on Bravo, USA Network, NBC. And so we were creating, in essence, short form broadcast news packages about people like Mark Andreessen, about people like David Bowie, about people like Cindy Crawford, and what the Supreme Court was doing, and what the House of Satan was doing, all on the World Wide Web 1.0, right? I mean, I use that as, it was literally all over the place. And back then, and also Jeff Bezos, we did the very first TV story of Jeff Bezos. I remember meeting Jeff, and he interviewed me before he allowed us to stick cameras in his face, because he had gotten burned by Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. They thought he was crazy. You're going to launch an e-commerce site with books? Like, who is this lunatic? But, so I think what we did at CNET was we took very complex ideas, and doing technology stories is not easy, right? You have to be able to explain it to a mass audience. And we did that at CNET very, very effectively. And finding ways to tell the story, not only of the individual founder, their motivations for doing it, but how they were using these new tools that were going to empower them to empower the World Wide Web and the world at large. So that's really the genesis of what we're doing here. It's sort of my time at MTV, the rock and roll attitude, the news background. What we did at MTV was groundbreaking, and what we did at CNET was groundbreaking. So I'm taking those two disciplines and really focusing it into Defiance Media 100%, and hoping that everybody loves it.
Can we also touch on a raise we had here in 2021? It looks like you guys raised $2 million. Not sure if that's accurate. We're just sourcing some things here now as we speak. But it looks like you guys maybe conducted a raise in 2021, raising $2 million. We saw Patrick might have been an investor in that round, friend of the show. We've had him on before. Maybe talk a bit about that.
Well, yeah. So what we've been doing is the last couple of years, this is our sort of coming out party, if you will, to the world. We've been building product, and we've been really just building I call it the Tesla Roadster of broadcast news media 1.0. We've spent a lot of time figuring out what workflows and AI we're going to use, what on-chain solutions are we going to use, how are we going to solve provenance in broadcast video, we went hard on free ad-supported streaming television because we saw that as a growth market before anyone else did, and worked very diligently to get the partnerships that we have, because again, you can't just broadcast live on TV, right? It's not possible. So I think we brought in a variety of friends and family. I can share with you a link if people are interested to see who our founding investors are. It's quite a who's who in tech. I'll put it here in the chat room with you guys.
I'll pull it up.
And there you go. These are the folks that are the friends and family behind Defiance Media. And yes, we raised a little less than $2 million over the last couple of years. We intentionally didn't raise a lot of money. We didn't need to do it. We really wanted, again, to get everything right. The brand. We had an evolution in the brand name, for example. I wouldn't say that we ever pivoted. We just wanted to get it right. And I think we're at a place now where that MVP, if you will, is ready to expand with obviously the audiences and the participants' support.
Can we touch on the token a little bit? You guys chose to launch with SOAR. It looks like 6% of equities may be tied to that. What led you to this decision? 5%, excuse me. And maybe you can touch on a bit of the tokenomics there and structure behind that. But what kind of led you to this decision going with SOAR? It's a new primitive, and you have to kind of be bold to take a step out and try anything new. And also there's benefits from moving first. But maybe tell us a bit about why you decided to go with SOAR and your token here.
I like the standard that they're promoting. The DRP standard to me makes a lot of sense, and they're obviously a new company. It's a nascent standard, and I think that it's going to be a standard that becomes a real standard at some point very, very soon. There's and the team. You have a lot of really smart people there that are very dedicated to creating curated, experiences for folks that want to be engaged and participating with companies. It's not just a free for all, wild, wild west DEX, if you will. And I think that's really critical. We are a curated content platform, so the idea of matching and aligning on a curation level is there. They also are really, really hands-on in terms of helping and getting us set up for even this interview, for example, and meeting you guys. But to answer your question, it really, what resonated with me day one was the DRP, standard, if you will, and going in that direction. The fact that it is participatory in nature is what matters to me.
So you've done raises in the past. Clearly, you have a long-standing business career here. How would you say raising with this equity structure that the DRP standard provides stacks up or compares to traditional venture and traditional raises with family offices, friends and family, et cetera?
Well, look, there's nothing better than friends and family, because those are the folks that formulate the entire vision of the business, and they're all friends. So I've shared with you who our friends and family are, and that is our core group of folks. We don't just rely on them as investors, but they have helped shape the mission of the company. They're not operating the company or involved in day to day, but these are some pretty brilliant people. And, that's a great litmus test in terms of our credibility and who we're getting our information from to help move things forward. So I say that's a terrific milestone. Working with family offices, we have a couple of family offices involved, but mostly family offices don't invest in startups. They're investing in venture funds and hedge funds. So I think the family office route for a startup is really not necessary and an arduous route. Venture capital is venture capital. They have certain metrics that they need to hit. Great venture capital firms that have sub funds, if you will, that are for exactly vehicles like us, a startup, if you will. Those firms like Draper, for example, is very big on this. And of course, you have Boost, which is run by Adam Draper, and he's the front lines for Draper Associates. Adam's making high risk investments with brilliant technologists and startup founders, anywhere from 50 to 250 grand. And then they graduate to, say, a Draper Associates environment where, Tim's got a whole other team of people that's evaluating the deal on a different criteria. And then it goes on to, the next level, if you will. I think that Andreessen is brilliant at this too. And then you have Y Combinator and all these others. So it really just, they all differentiate. With a token raise, we could have done a token raise many years ago. Clearly, look at our team of investors. We could have done a utility token back in 2021 or 2020 or
GMCG. Sorry if it was lagging at the end there of the DF TV segment. I don't know if that was lagging for you guys, but it definitely was lagging on my end. So
yeah, it was for me, but all good. Really enjoyed watching that back. GMCG, GICM, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys had a good week last week with the holidays, all that good stuff. Hope you guys are doing good.
Back to the grind.
Back to the grind, bro. Back to the grind. It's a lot of things are still happening in markets. Honestly, a lot of momentum building for ownership tokens. You guys see the title of the stream. Ownership tokens are showing strength. And so although the market is the way it is, markets are nuking, but MetaDAO and that whole ecosystem continues to hold up and hold steady. We see Avicii as well is looking pretty. I might even bring that chart up before we go into macro real quick, just to put this all into perspective for everyone. So let's see here, Avicii, and I'll share my screen so that way you guys can see the chart. Perfect. So here is Avicii. we've had these levels drawn out for quite some time, right? On this Avicii chart. And I mean, look at this thing, man. Really holding levels very nicely. Honestly, we can even put it right there. Holding levels really nicely, looking like it's ready to just climb higher. And that's pretty much how a lot of these tokens are looking. And we'll go through some of these charts here in a little bit. But hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are enjoying markets. I know things are nuking, but if you've been looking at and paying attention to MetaDAO and some of the projects that we've been covering, your portfolio should actually be holding up pretty well.
Yeah, where did the MCG listeners hear about Avicii first?
Bro, you guys heard Avicii all the way back in October,
Yeah.
like dang near mid-October. You guys, we covered them pre-launch, while their raise was still live. And we gave you guys the whole strategy. I think Dom was the one who gave you guys the strategy. Wait till the raise is finished, kind of wait for things to settle, maybe for sellers or what have you, flippers, traders to get out, and then we just roll on in, scoop the bottom up, and enjoy the ride, right? And so the way things have played out with Avicii, I think it's very important to notice that investors know what they hold, and that's due to the ownership model. And the way I'm looking at it is, the more investors know what they're holding, the value of what they hold. In this case with Avicii, they have ownership over the treasury, right? The IP, the revenue. They have ownership over the direction of this project, right? So holders know what they have, and they're continuing to just basically hold strong, because this is the darling of CT, Avicii, right now. So looking good, but honestly, setting a standard for other projects that are coming into the space. But before we get too deep into things, guys, again, hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to the stream. Let's go through Bitcoin first. Let's start with macro. Start with some bigger charts. We'll see what the overall space is looking like, and then we'll work our way down. GICM, Andrew, appreciate you joining up. Let's see. Here's the Bitcoin chart. Man, look at this thing. I think we were just talking about it pre-stream, Josh. What was it? Escalator up, elevator down. You gotta love this price action. But we've been looking at this chart for quite some time and realize that we are very deep in a demand zone here. When you're looking at it, we've been looking for the part where buyers will step in. And when you look down at the daily, you notice here in this deeper region of this demand zone, that's when buyers decided to step in. And I've told you guys that this is not going to be a V-shaped recovery, right? This is going to be consolidation. This is going to take work. This is going to take time. We finally saw some buyers step in here around 80K. But it wasn't that strong of a move, right? Like, we couldn't even because every time frame pretty much looks bearish. You go to the monthly, bearish, the weekly, bearish, like the daily, bearish. When you start going to lower time frames, that's when you have to start looking at signs of a reversal. And even on these lower time frames, like, this price action is not the cleanest. Not the cleanest. And yeah, the 4-hour SFP potentially that I had drawn out, not even that is looking like it'll hold any weight. So yeah, still a lot of work to do on all high time frames. Bitcoin is not looking good, and on the lower time frames, we're not seeing any signs of a clean reversal happening. So still consolidating. It looks like we might test lower. I wouldn't be surprised to see us really test my invalidation. I guess I should chart that, right? Invalidation. I'm cool if we wick below it. I'm not cool if we close below it. I'll say that now. But yeah,
On
75K
close below it on what, a weekly or monthly candle?
weekly. I'd say a weekly candle close. I'd even go as far as 2 weekly candle closes below invalidation, but I'd severely de-risk after that first initial weekly close to allow markets to resolve first. But that's what we're looking at here, guys. On this chart, Bitcoin deep demand zone still has a lot of work to do. So the question is, what's the rest of the market looking like? I'm not even gonna pretty much all of the charts look the same. Look the same as Bitcoin, right? Deep in a demand zone, not really showing, many signs of a reversal. Let's go to Solana. I saw it went below 125. I think I had this drawn out here like a possible head and shoulders, but again, like no buyers at all. And we might look for things, but still in this down channel here. Let's look at Met. I actually might do I might do a post on Met later. Because Met is just in such a clean area. Basically all of the infrastructure, we talked about ownership coins showing strength, right? So ownership coins, that would include tokens like MetaDAO tokens, right? SOAR tokens. These are all ownership models. And most of CT knows about MetaDAO tokens, but they don't know quite yet about SOAR tokens. I just, there's a comment earlier today that I posted about on someone's post. I think the DRP standard is a little bit misunderstood. And so that's why it isn't getting that similar amount of attention, but I think the market will eventually catch on, right? Because tokens like CPT and DFTV, and we'll cover those here in a second. There's been some action over there, but the fundamentals are way too good to ignore. But ultimately, Meteora is where all of this is built on top of. So MetaDAO, launch on SOAR, even Believe, was built on top of Meteora, and that's all bullish. If you're bullish ICM, if you're bullish ownership tokens, then it's more than likely built on Meteora, and so you should be bullish that too. And even outside of that, we talked about revenue numbers, especially in comparison to other competitors on Solana. Meteora is just they're him. That's the team is doing work. The protocol is revenue generating, and they continue to align themselves very well with the community. So love what they're doing over there at Meteora. Obviously really undervalued area here. Fartcoin, honestly, I'm talking a lot about Fartcoin lately, and I know it's like, oh, we're supposed to be ICM, no memes. Why? But look, I trade good tokens, guys. I trade good tokens. But when you look at Fartcoin here, down channel, and I told you guys exactly what would make me bullish. I said, look, we're in a down channel. What I would like to see is us break out and sustain price action outside of this down channel. And here we are. We broke out last week, and I've been covering this as well on Twitter. But we broke out. There was this sort of SF or market structure. I don't think it was a full SFP on any timeline. No, it wasn't a full SFP. It was just market structure, right? This is a high time frame market structure, and this was a key level to break here at 35, almost 35 cents. But we broke out. We couldn't break above that market structure, so we came back down, retested the down channel perfectly, almost to the penny, and now we're on our way bouncing on our way back up. As you can see here a little bit more clearly, we're bouncing off this 26 cents region right here.
If you
So
saw strength on Fartcoin, would you start to think maybe there's some hope for the market here?
I still look at Fartcoin as an indicator for risk appetite. So if this starts going up, absolutely, I think this is bullish for markets. I think it's a good indicator of where people are willing. I mean, look, everything is selling off. Everything is selling off. Let's just real quick. Let's just look at a few charts. We're coming up on time that we got to move on to the next segment. So I'll make this one quick. Over the last let's call it a week, Fartcoin went up 110%. At the highest level. I don't think you can find another token that's in the market right now over the last week that has gone up 100%. Not Pump Fund, not Aster. I mean, and look at these charts. Look at Fartcoin breaking out of a down channel and holding. Meanwhile, you have Pump Fund breaking down, testing a key level. Aster breaking down below a key level. Hype breaking down below a key level. XPL continues its downtrend. Near Protocol, this one was tough. 180, that was a support that lasted like nearly this entire year. We just broke that level. So you look at all the, and I mean, we can go on these, we can go on and on for days, but the fact is, this is probably one of the strongest, like more like higher cap charts, because it's one of the only ones that have broken out of a downtrend. And while everything is breaking that monthly support, that key support level, this is continuing to make a higher low and go for more. So hey, let's see what happens with Fartcoin. But I will say I am officially bullish on Fartcoin. That was the plan. I made the plan and now I'm just trading it, right? So bullish Fartcoin. Outside of that, you kind of saw all the other charts. Not really many charts worth looking at right now. So let's go on to the next segment. Let's get into some overall, some kind of high time frame views that I wanted to share with you guys, because the question right now is, man, is it over? Is it really over? Is it, Bitcoin is breaking below key levels. We see that happening on charts. We even, went down under 83, or rather 84K recently. So is it all over? Emphatically, I continue to remain bullish and say, no, it is not over. Last week, a few days ago, the Kobisi letter came out with another great tweet. Trump saying he'll keep stocks at record highs. Trump is telling you, I'm going to max bid stocks by printing, or not max bid, but I'm going to pump stocks by printing, right? 600 billion in per year in magnificent Mag 7 capex. Fed cutting interest rates into 3% inflation. This is key. This is key into 3% inflation. So again, very, very key. QT start ending in this was in 2 days, but today is when QT is ending. So we're going from money coming out of the financial system to now money going into the financial system. And then we have a few other things. We got Trump promising stimmy checks in 2026. Trump saying he'll completely cut income taxes. We have record corporate buybacks exceeding 1.2 trillion coming in 2026. And then we have Nvidia larger than all but 5 national stock markets. So look, inflation is coming, QE is coming. That all means one thing. That all means one thing. You have to own assets. And in the case of us crypto natives, we prefer to own crypto native assets, right? But that's also what the Kobisi letter says here. It says, what we're seeing in silver right now is truly historic. While everyone is fighting over the AI bubble, precious metals are casually crushing every other asset class. What does it mean? Own assets or be left behind, right? Own assets. And so the assets that we choose to hold are obviously crypto native, but the kind of environment that we're going into is very, very bullish for Bitcoin with stimulus, and with asset prices primed for higher across the board. I think what we have to figure out is, I think there's still some marginal seller that got washed out, taken out on a stretcher during the 1010 flash crash. I think someone is dumping Bitcoin, but once they're done, that pressure, that force that's holding Bitcoin down will be removed, and we can resume up only.
Tell me this, because in April we officially called the bottom. Terra FUD ETH was $1,500. You and I said it's going higher. It's going to 15K. Job's not done. We're not there yet. I don't know if this gets clipped or not, but do you feel like we could be finding close to some level of good entries / a bottom here?
I wouldn't call a bottom here above 80K. I wouldn't do that. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see us run the 80K lows, maybe go a little bit lower than that. What I will say is, I wouldn't be surprised to see us consolidate. And my God, my mouse work is crazy. But I wouldn't be surprised to see us oh my gosh. That was crazy. Hold on. I wouldn't be surprised to see us do something like this, go a little bit below, consolidate, and then in January, really start to uptick. I wouldn't even be surprised to see us, uptick a little bit here in December. But the point is, I think we need to consolidate first. We need to establish where our buyers stepping in, where is the selling, when is the selling going to stop? We haven't seen it. Sellers are in control now. Going back to Dom's way of looking at the market, the spreads on these candles, right? On all these selling candles, all these sell-offs, sellers are in control, because right now everyone is asking the same question: who's selling? Why are they selling? And when will they stop? Sellers are in control. So that's why I wouldn't call for a bottom here, but I think a bottom is coming, but bottoms are formed slowly, right? So we'll have a ton of time to identify and make the right call once the market has proven to us that it's ready to go up.
You got a lot of tweets in the private. Let's go through, kind of mission through some charts, and then we got Secure coming up.
Cool. Yeah, let's go through some stuff, guys, because there's been a lot of chatter on CT about tokenomics, token utility, the FDV and things of that nature. So I think this is a really important moment for ICM, because at the same time as people are asking all of these questions around token utility and valuations and all this other stuff, people are starting to wonder, well, is it worth holding anything? Is it just memes? I mean, CRG here says meme coins gained serious popularity because of this very reason. People got fed up of the high FDV, low float scams with down only charts, enriching only teams and insiders by promoting revolutionary tech when most of them were just garbage. Whereas with memes, you have 100% of supply in circulation. They don't try to be anything that they're not. And most memes are never coming back, of course, same as all coins. Most are trash, but the comeback will be televised. And I do, at some point, to some extent agree with him in terms of meme coins coming back. There was a post by Soju, I believe, that kind of went into this sort of nihilism that we see in the space that pushes people towards meme coins. Soju here, he talks about just how Meteora is building to restore confidence in tokens, because they're essentially turning tokens into vehicles with more rights, ownership, and overall quality. And this whole tweet here is a deep dive, but in this tweet here by Hasib, he kind of goes into this nihilism that we see, this financial nihilism. That's where we were. That's what pushed meme coins forward. But now we're in this kind of financial cynicism where he talks about nothing has value. Everyone thinks everything is worthless. And so you have, projects trying to come up with something to um, to justify their valuation. So he mentioned Solana using REV, or real economic value, to justify their valuation. But as you can see, that metric kind of fell off. And so it's just kind of contributed to this negative sentiment around tokens that many have in our space. And I think that's why Arthur here says, love this piece. It's inspiring. That said, you also have the example of majority of the returns of exponentials not being captured by the public market, because again, insiders and teams, they get all they get all the value, while by the time a token launches, it's at such a high FDV that it's not enough. There's nothing there left for investors. But this is really interesting. He says, ignoring all these foundational, or I'm sorry, let me start sooner. The crypto market structure right now is more akin to EM equity market, with poor investor protection, corporate governance, lack of long only patient permanent capital. And I see these as foundational for investors to capture the growth that can be delivered by the exponentials. And he said, ignoring all of these foundational issues are what caused so much wealth destruction in the past few years. I think this is literally what we all need to be. This is the discussion, and this is what we all need to be paying attention to here. He says that we lack poor investor protection. Can you think of something that protects investors? GMCG, OJ, GMCG, big homie, Chad. But do you know what fixes poor investor protection? Ownership tokens. Do you know where there's good corporate governance? Ownership tokens. Do you know what can fix the lack of long only permanent capital in this market? Ownership tokens. Right. So we see that the conversation is happening on CT. The conversation is happening, in the broader market. We just need it. We just need everyone to realize that the solution is here already. Solutions such as SOAR, such as MetaDAO, they have fixed these core problems. And once people realize that, this long only patient permanent capital can start to buy, because we saw Paradigm buy MetaDAO, right? So that patient capital is coming, but it's just not quite here yet. So again, another important conversation happening, and just something for us to be aware of. One other tweet that I wanted to go through before we go into our next segment. The homie Miyamoto, he says, I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I believe the next phase of crypto is almost certainly real utility and fundamentals. If you look at the last cycles, it's always been hype, excess, exhaustion. Same thing in 2017 with ICOs, 2021 with L1s, 23 to 25 with meme coins, AI, vaporware, utility, and others. All of these waves of money, but they were fundamentally useless tokens built on narrative rather than actual economic value. And so he says, that caps the upside. So the next trajectory is likely a rotation where real world use case is prioritized. Products with genuine utility, projects with fundamentals, revenue, and adoption. Vaporware won't die. People will always gamble. But this is where the next real wealth will be made. Actual utility plus users plus sustainable economics. Again, more evidence showing that the conversation is happening, right? People are looking for, like, where are these tokens going to, actually be valuable? And, here we are. MCG, we've been saying it for months and months and months. ICM is coded. ICM is here. And we have players now, such as MetaDAO, such as Sora, but we have others too. We have others like Street, right? We brought Maya on the other day, but we also have another player in town as well, ZC. I don't know if anyone's been looking at ZC as of late, but looks like they're coming out with a lot of updates, basically a Futarki sort of model, and looks like they're partnering with Star.fun as well. And so I don't have a TLDR for you right now. We can get to that after our next segment. But I did want to just flag this for you guys, because as you can see here, ZC is actually coming back. It's actually coming back, right? From 200K to 1.3 mil at the highest, or honestly, I think that's 1.5 mil actually. Again, the conversation is happening. Players are coming with solutions, and
it seems like because I think ZC, like, super smart guys, but the impression I had there is they just couldn't attract maybe the type of issuers that they wanted to on the platform. And really, it's all about curating great issuers. Where I will say Star's skill set is, Adams is probably going and finding those issuers. Like that Surf Cash one was pretty solid. So it might be a good relationship if they kind of work together.
Yeah, and I think that's why they decided to just get something going here, partnering with each other. Good team, smart guys that can provide some key infrastructure. And then you have, Adam coming in with the network. But this is a serious bounce off the bottom. And, we've seen the bounces before on the chart, but, some of those bounces have been faded really hard, right? We see the bounces get faded there. And we got to go into this next segment, so I'll be really quick with this. But we've seen the bounces get faded there, here, right? We even see the bounces get faded over here. But right now, it looks like this is bouncing. Oops. Let me get this. Looks like this is bouncing here, but it's actually starting to curl up, right? So it looks like it actually wants higher. This chart looks really good, 1.3 mil market cap. So I'll keep an eye on them. And it looks like some of the core features that they're changing with their model, a lot of people really like it. One of them being the buyback. 0.5% of all spot and decision market volume is taken as a fee and will go to buying back and burning ZC. So again, really good relationship that they form with Star.fun. And so this could be something to watch out for. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to run through that. A lot of great conversations happening.
Well, I'm still waiting for Secure to come on. So why don't you run through the MetaDAO eco real quick? I know,
dude, yeah,
like Solo cooked, Umbra's been cooking. Like this has just been, I mean, these are all tickers that you've seen on MCG. We covered their launches, we covered their projects. Loyal as well. Loyal's cooked as well.
Yes, yes. Actually, that was going to be the first one I wanted to go to.
Yeah.
Was Loyal. I think this one was kind of a sleeper. Basically,
I'm not gonna lie, I had a hard time trying to understand their model. But I do remember one thing standing out was that they were gonna have token trading inside the AI terminal. And if they have that live, I think that's interesting. So, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, Loyal is looking really good. I think there were some really nice, how can I say, really nice write-ups happening on about Loyal. I want to say even Decentralized or Die also wrote something really nice as well about Loyal. But let me see here. There was one, I believe Game had posted about this, basically where he said, look, it's basically like a Chat GPT kind of thing going on. But except it's decentralized, it's private, your information isn't stored, it's not given to, it's not sold to the highest bidder kind of thing. So yeah, I have to do a little bit more digging on Loyal, but it's bounced pretty nicely off the bottom here. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, it was nice little 60% move. Nice 60% move off the bottom. And let me actually go to, I think I have the thread here that bang, here it is. Here it is. So I think there are others that I could dig up as well, but this is pretty much the main one that I wanted to, one of the main ones anyway, that I wanted to highlight. So Loyal is doing 1.5 million buybacks over the next 30 days. So that basically began like within the last few days. And so I'm actually going to I'm going to actually map out this on my chart as well. But there's basically this floor price.
Why did they buy back? Do you know?
I think that was just a part of what they wanted to do. Let me see. 1.5 mil of treasury funds will purchase Loyal tokens with a maximum price set at 0.238 per token. I'm not sure. So here it is. There was a proposal that was signed. Let's see. This proposal sets a soft price floor and protects our holders. Let me go into the MetaDAO website and take a look at this proposal. So let's see. So buyback up to NAV, and I have to do. I keep forgetting to research that. So while Loyal is sitting below NAV, our treasury is an arbitrage opportunity for adversarial capital. We want to protect the treasury against liquidation and ensure we can continue building our future. So essentially, this is what they did. They wanted to allocate capital to protect holders, to accumulate tokens for OTC deals without increasing the supply. And so they basically kind of set out this proposal to buy back at a floor price with 1.5 mil. And so essentially, you have the chart here. This is the floor. So basically, the way that you can look at this trade, and actually, let me just do this as well. Hit it to the right, floor price. And I'll do that so I can actually, all of us can actually see it. Bang. So this is the floor price. So basically anything below this price, they're buying back. They're buying back. So it's almost being viewed as a risk-free trade right now. So that's why Loyal is looking good. As far as like the fundamentals, like around the fundamentals around Loyal itself. Let's take a look. I believe on MetaDAO they actually have like a brief description of the project, if I'm not lying. Yeah, permissionless, private, decentralized intelligence. The blueprint for the next generation of decentralized organization. So we can actually go to their website and like dig in. And,
Who knows what that means?
yeah, like that's a lot. That's a lot of like, that's very, okay. So this kind of gives you agentic computer for private people, private on-chain intelligence with real-time performance. So that's what I was saying earlier, just kind of like a decentralized, like sort of like ChatGPT.
Yeah, just go to MCG, go search Loyal,
Yeah.
and go watch our content. Also go to MCG YouTube. The full recording is up there. Just search Loyal and you'll see it. Yeah, shout out Decentralize and Die. Honestly, great account. Good stuff. Try to invite people like Game and Decentralize and Die on MCG, but I don't think they live stream, so is what it is.
Yeah.
We have Secure in the waiting room. So let's just wrap this segment here with any final thoughts that you have.
Yeah. So, basically, AI narrative ownership token gaining some traction. I need to see a little bit more metrics around like users, growth, revenue, stuff like that. I'm not sure if people are just buying just because of purely the buyback, just to kind of front run the buyback type of thing, or just take advantage. But a good starting place here if you're looking for something to buy in the MetaDAO eco. Chart looks pretty good, consolidating sideways, and again at that risk-free price level. But yeah, let's go ahead and bring them up. Let's get them on.
All right, Secure, Legion.
How's it going, man? I'm trying to get my camera to work, but it's not working. So I think Eric has his camera on. So at least
Yeah, if you want, you can hop out and join back in too as well.
Yeah, let me try to do that really quick. Give me 1 second, okay?
Yeah, no worries, no rush.
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. How's it going, Eric? How is everything?
Good morning. Just looking over your chart and stuff, and it looks pretty interesting. I like the consolidation. It does look like a good chart. Definitely some room for growth right there. Really happy to be here today. Would like to introduce you guys to Secure. We have some neat things cooking. We have some good things planned for the future. Really hoping that we can get Wiz on here in a second. Hopefully he's not having trouble, but we don't really need to see his face. We've seen it before. He ain't that pretty.
Sounds good.
Hey, I love your technical analysis. If you ever
right?
want to join MCG, definitely can have you on.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to network more and meet some new people out here in the space. I was real tied up with work, but really, really happy to be back into real development and working on real solid projects like this one right here. So I'm happy to be here, guys, and I'm looking forward to, like I said, networking and building with everyone.
Absolutely. Well, look, happy to have you. I mean, just to get a sense of who you are, I guess, while we wait for him to join back. Are you? So you say you've been working a lot. So tell us a little bit about your background. Like, what are you doing now? What are you working on? What kind of brought you to working on Secure? I'm guessing you're not crypto native.
I've been into crypto since 2016.
Okay.
I'm really, really big on crypto. I ran a 72 GPU mining farm. I worked on a Bitcoin mining farm that I didn't own, but I helped manage like almost 1,600 machines. I actually have quite an extensive background in crypto. I got really tied up when I was working with the Navy. Worked for the Department of Defense, the Naval Air Warfare Center, and multiple government contracts building flight simulators and setting up servers, artificial intelligence servers. We had all kinds of different stuff going on. I was actually managing their ACAS system, which is the Assured Compliance Assessment Solution. I'm not sure if any of y'all have ever heard of it, but it's basically an
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, basically an antivirus that's on crack. So really, really awesome software, really awesome technology. Some of it I had never worked with before, like some of the training software that they were using. So basically, we would build these flight simulators, we would train instructors, and we would help students. So basically, we would train the instructors how to fly planes they already know how to fly, but how to operate the machines more importantly. And then they would train the students. So that was really, really great for me. I've been into computers since I can't even remember. My first PC was 33 megahertz. It had 2 megs of RAM. I had to upgrade to 8 megs of RAM just so I could play Doom #1. So I've been in the space for a long time. I love working on the security aspects of things. Tried and tested systems are what I'm all about, man. And what really brought me into Secure was just the tech and the idea behind it. I had no idea like how quick things were going to come to life and how fast things were going to work out. But as you know, Mr. Wizard here, he hasn't been sleeping too well. He's been working around the clock. And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he's beast for sure. So
awesome. A fellow veteran. Shout out Pepe if you're a veteran.
Yeah, I'm a veteran as well, Army. But yeah, definitely a lack of sleep, man. Sorry for the confusion trying to get into this thing. I had my firewall on and my antivirus protectors.
Yeah,
like,
those will cook StreamYard as firewall or VPNs.
I had to turn that off. You had to turn it off right now, but everything is doing good. Yeah, definitely, man. We developed something unique. So basically, like I was trying to like solve a problem with the current messaging apps, right? We're like, so what are they really doing? What do they really care about? So like everybody has just basic message encryption, right? That's like a common thing. But what is the problem? The problem is the metadata. What is metadata? Metadata is who you're talking to, like your patterns of who you're talking to, like what time you're talking to, and like your location and stuff. Those are the data that they really care about. They don't care about what the message contents are. So I was trying to figure out like how could we truly make an app that's serverless. Well, there's apps out there that are also serverless, but they still have a lot of metadata exposure, right? So that's when I came up with this ping pong wake protocol that I just filed a provisional patent for. It's about 52 pages long. I'm going to go ahead and post that on the GitHub for people can read it. So basically, what the theory was is that I set up this system to where it had to do a bilateral authentication between both devices, right? So not only does that allow you to communicate without servers, and we're not even using relays, because relays are like what gives you the notifications, like hey, I got a message. So we're not using relays either, because Android allows you to bypass that. So it's direct to direct. Well, I mean, that worked great, but the problem is that it only worked if both devices are connected to the internet at the same time. So that's how Blair and a couple of these other companies work. They have to be connected. So it's not ideal for somebody to use it as a day-to-day messaging app. If you live in Thailand, for example, and I'm in the US, we're both not going to be on at the same exact time. So the messages that are not on, they're just going to disappear unless you have a server where they sit on, and then they send that to the devices when the device comes back online. So I'm like, okay, cool. So how are we going to actually solve that? So that's when I developed the protocol, which what it'll do is it'll wait for a device to wake up, and then it'll send a ping, which is called a tap, say, hey, I'm online, which is basically a silent signal to all the contacts, checking if it has mail. And at that point, it'll get that, and then it will do the ping pong, which is basically you send a message, right? It first sends a pong, the ping first, which is a authentication. That person has to actually go into the Messenger app and hit download. And then once they hit download, they're basically authorizing that message to come in. It sends the pong back to the other device, and it's all encrypted, and it's using cryptograph handshakes like through the Solana private keys. And then it sends the actual payload after that, after it goes through that whole process. So all of that, we got it to work great, right? But the problem was like, hey, how do we do it to where both parties are not online? So we figured that out with the basically heartbeat monitor, which we did. Then the problem was, which got really complicated, and it took me a long time to figure this out. I was fighting algorithms for like 3 days in my room trying to figure out how to solve this next problem. And basically, how does it know when the message has been delivered? How does it know when the ping has been delivered? How does it know when the pong has been delivered, right? Because it doesn't know unless you figure that problem out. So what was happening is you get the message, everything worked fine, and then you'd get a ton of notifications, because they would have a retry worker in the background that kept retrying to send the message, because maybe you're driving through a tunnel, so it's going to try to redo it, and it'll backs off incrementally so it doesn't kill your battery. So then this is when it got crazy, is like, okay, so what do I do? So then what normal people do is they have a acknowledgement system, right? That basically it sends with the payload saying, hey, it's got it. And then once it downloads it, it sends that back saying that it received it. But every step of the way, every process has to have an acknowledgement system that goes back to the device. So it can't go to servers, right? So it's going from one device to another using the Tor network, using a private client that's basically an encrypted tunnel just to that device, right?
So other messaging apps like WhatsApp say they're encrypted, but what you're saying is their messages are going through server infrastructure, whereas you figured out a methodology to send it direct to another device. And to solve some of the clumsy UX around a device being offline or not being open, you figured out this kind of you call it ping pong. It's not a message as in a text message. It's like saying, hey, I'm here, like a signaling out to the devices trying to message. Is that correct?
Yeah. Basically, it's authenticating the person's presence before the message is sent to them, which helps with also device seizures, right?
And no one does this?
Not to the extent that we're doing. No, it's not been done yet. I've done extensive, hundreds of hours of, patentability research, because when I came with this idea, I'm like, somebody's had to have done this, right?
And BlackBerry didn't do this back in the day?
No, it hasn't been done. And plus, the technology has just evolved recently enough to allow us to do some of these things, because there's other things to it. There's like, we have to subscribe to an alarm system on the phone. So basically that's what wakes the device and makes periodically checks to make sure it's connected to Tor. We also have to do a forgo process, which basically means that it's running in the background. But like, how do you do that without killing someone's battery, right? So now that the phones have advanced enough to where you can do these processes in the background, it doesn't kill your battery. That's what makes it effective, right? Because if back in the day, no one would even want to try it because it would kill your battery like really quickly, because you're basically, constantly connected to this into network. But now it just functions with very little battery use. But I think the reason why nobody has attempted to do this is because they want metadata. They want to have that control, right? Some countries
they want to serve you an ad when you type in a brand or something on WhatsApp.
100% true.
Yeah, exactly.
So talk to me about the server client model. Why that's more efficient for battery versus, sending it client to client.
Okay, so basically what I was trying to say is like the reason why this hasn't been attempted, I believe one of the reasons is because it wasn't like resource useful, right? So like it back in the older operating systems, it had to use a different methodology to actually subscribe to the Tor process. And so it would drain the battery quickly, right? So now that the new operating systems have evolved, we're able to figure out a way through a forgo processing that basically doesn't kill the battery. That's basically what I'm getting at with that. But it functions just like, a VPN, for example, right? So you do a VPN on your phone, it's constantly connected to the VPN network, which is basically you're relying upon another server, and it's encrypted. But I think most VPNs are not safe because you're basically putting your hands to that person. Our model is like trust nobody, right? So the only person that you're trusting is the person that's on the other end of the thing, which we've also enabled tons of features. Like, for example, you have to add each other to even communicate. You cannot communicate with somebody that's not in your friends list that you both have authenticated during the add friend feature. So to give you an example of how this works and how we're able to actually have a contact system that you can pull from somewhere without it being on a server. So what we did is we enabled, the blockchain enablement of the IPPFS, I think it is. And basically it's the file storage, decentralized file storage that people use. So when you first create an account, right, what it'll do is it encrypts, your Tor. So you get your own private Tor.onion address. That's how the device communicates.
And Tor.onion is not the dark web, but it's like a encrypted internet portal, basically, right?
So Tor is what is used to connect to the dark web. That is correct. So it has, it has its good uses and it has its bad uses. But a little fun fact, I think in 1997, the U.S. Naval Center actually is the one that came up with, basically the idea for Tor. And then somebody else, kind of ran off with it.
Yeah, forgetting the dark web name, all it is just an encrypted internet connection.
Yeah. So it's like, that's why they call it Onion Router, because it works like, like the onions.
Yeah,
basically, there's a bunch of layers. And so your traffic gets, thrown through a whole different bunch of nodes. But that's also a problem, though, is because there's entry nodes. So when you first connect to Tor, and then there's exit nodes, right? And then there's a bunch of nodes in between there. Well, a lot of times people don't realize that just because they're on Tor, they're not really safe. So you have to trust the entry node and the exit node. So let's say, for example, this organization is running both at the same time. They can correlate where that first initial traffic is coming from. And if the data on that comes out the end, they're going to be able to correlate together. But what we're doing is we're using a private client. So basically it's going from me straight to that person. And there's no other people you have to worry about for like exit nodes and things like that.
Got it. So I gotta, okay, so let's break into this. And I'm not trying to sound like skeptical or anything like that. I really am think that you guys are super smart and you might be building something special here.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where Telegram ran into issues. Is Pavel lives in France. In France, the legislature there or the whatever the court system there said, hey, we want to look into the messages of drug dealers, national security threats, something like that. Pavel said no, and he kept saying no. And then one day he ended up going to an airport, and someone threw him in a back room and said, okay, you're in jail for 6 months until you say yes. Or the app stores will remove you from Telegram from the App Store. Like that was kind of the trade-off, is like you do this or you get removed from the App Store. How do you kind of navigate those like centralization risks, both from a personal standpoint, but also like, yeah, you know, your app is in the App Store, and couldn't Google just get, you know,
Yeah.
remove you?
So yeah, perfect. I've been asked this a lot, right? So basically, well, to be completely blunt, I mean, hold on, sorry about that. To be completely blunt with you, like if I have to go to jail over something I believe in, that's totally fine. But to answer it, hopefully without that, is the reason why we're using Android is because it has the ability to download APKs, right? So you can go to the website and you could download an APK, and you can circumvent, if you wanted to, the Play Store and Apple, right? So, you know, when these new laws come out in certain areas, I don't agree with them, but obviously people, you know, need to follow whatever's right. They can still go to the website and download the APK if they want it through Android. It's the way we developed it is that there's no way to do any like backdoors or collect any information. Like it's just not possible. Also, I've released the whole entire source code to GitHub, so it's already out there. Like the whole entire like special you know, protocol, everything's out there. And I did a special license, which means people can build on it, they can use it. They just can't use it for commercial. I don't want people to use it. So basically what I'm trying to do is like take back our, you know, freedom to privacy without having these corporations control it, because there's a reason why a lot of these corporations, Signal and all of them, are getting, you know, millions and billions of dollars worth of funding, because, you know, they're basically following what they're supposed to follow. I've already done, you know, plenty of research, and you know,
Snowden tried to warn us that a decade ago.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely like, you know, he's a decent guy. But yeah, I definitely done my research to make sure that, hey, you know, I'm not going to get in trouble for this. But at the same time, you know, I just want to stand up for what's right. And
look, I agree with you. I think if you're a law-abiding citizen, you should be able to communicate, you know, without people or servers kind of scraping data and stuff like that. And especially with the rise of AI, it's like, what is being used for training purposes? What is, you know, being, if your message is being scooped up in some sort of, you know, sweep of sorts, like it is a problem, and it's going to become more and more acute of a problem, I think, in the future. Okay, so there's a market for this, no doubt. People do care about this.
Diving back into that subject a little bit, there's really nothing to subpoena. The way that it's designed, there's no server that you can actually grab a hold of or physically enter a data center and rip it out. There's nothing like that. So sure, it might piss people off a little bit, but the way that it's designed is for ultimate privacy. So just a little bit of information there for people who aren't so technical, and why it's not possible to subpoena something like that is because it just simply doesn't exist.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's more things, like as far as like, you know, maybe like even with the website, we don't collect any of the traffic, but you know, if there ever was something, they could probably, you know, find out from like, you know, the people we host the website from, like who are the traffic, you know, to that website. That's basically the extent of anything would be.
So I need to also pause here, because we were talking to Perkins Fund, or THRT, and I believe this conversation was a referral from that. He was working on something where you could like send a file, and his, you know, thing would read the file, and then you know, back reference it against other file or other known viruses on the internet to like tell you if it's safe or not before you download it. Is that in your app? Like, is that have you guys worked together, or?
Yeah. So he's actually a great guy. Where he audited our code at the very beginning. It's also, we have formed some partnerships with him. One of them is to integrate the ability to send files, because, you know, originally when I developed this, I wanted it to be just like messaging only. And then I did add voice clips, so you could do voice clips, and it sounds great. And then I was like, you know, trying to figure out, well, you know, there's a problem with sending files and sending photos, for example. It's like a lot of people don't know that if you download a photo to your PC, it can have a wall drainer embedded into the actual photo. And you don't even have to like be a file. So how do we develop something that could like protect that? So my answer was, before, you know, I knew Perkins, I was like, there is nothing right now. I know. So we basically, you know, excluded that from the app. But then, you know, after the audit and after we formed some type of a partnership with him, we are in the works of enabling the ability to basically break down files into hashes and uploading those and having those scanned with the software he developed. Also today, we just reached another partnership, and what we're doing is we're taking his 402 that he built, and this is really cool because I'm going to do this in the next couple of days. Is basically inside of the encrypted messaging like threads. You go in there to one of your contacts. On the left, you can actually click and you can do request money or send money. And so it's going to function a lot like Apple Pay, to where you can actually send somebody, a request, and it expires, and it's all, all verified using, many facilitators. So it's really cool to have that inside of the messaging. You can send someone crypto very easily through basically an invoicing system. So that's something he developed, and we're going to be basically converting it to Rust and using that in the app itself.
Got it. So I guess what I really liked about what you said, you mentioned that because of the way it was built, from a legal standpoint, there's nothing that they can do about it. It kind of reminds me of MetaMask when the U.S. government sent MetaMask a thing to say, hey, look, you have to you got to sell people's funds, you got to close up shop, and they're like, look, this is decentralized. This isn't us. This is just a tool that's out there. So this is kind of similar in that way for you guys.
Yeah,
it's just a tool that's out there for
users. It's definitely out there. It's published on the GitHub. It's like basically in a way, it's like when you publish something like that, it's out there. Like there's no reversing it. Like once somebody says, okay, this is exactly how you do it step by step, it's like a virus in a way. It's just gonna, if they try to take me down, someone else is gonna use it. So and plus we're not charging for that. We want this to be completely free. But I noticed you were looking at the website. We are in the process of actually rebranding the website. I did finish the complete rebranding for the app. If you look at our X, you can see some previews of the new look. I just think it's so much better. So that's going to be submitted to the upcoming hackathon. We're going to do that. And then we're also going to do there's another Solana one where they're doing an audit, which is kind of cool. It's a bounty. So we're going to do that. And then we have, a couple big things in play as far as, submissions to the Play Store. So, we were going to submit that right away probably, but now that we're going to submit to the actual hackathon, we're going to do it at the same exact time, because we're adding a couple of things for the hackathon. They want to have, or they would like to see Zcash enabled, which, it makes total sense to have, a privacy token within the app itself. So I've already added Zcash to the code base. So just doing some testing on that, but yeah, definitely excited, for this. And yeah, we've been working tirelessly. I probably, no joke, sleep 3 hours a day if I'm lucky, since the start of this project. And so I'm really dedicated and motivated to make this, something really big. We also have a bunch of publications coming up in some major news outlets. So this is unique because this is actually a product that is going to be just beyond the means of crypto. And so originally when I built this, I was making somebody go through a whole crypto wallet process. But then I was like, well, if we get to the Play Store and somebody's like, I don't want to get involved in crypto, it's just going to limit ourselves to who we could have this app for. So now anybody can use the app, and so it has a wallet built in it, but it's more kind of as a back feature, not the main focus. And the messaging app's main focus. So when someone's using it all the time, they're like, oh, what's this crypto wallet? And it's going to get them into crypto more because of the introduction through the messenger.
I would agree. And comparing it to MetaMask and their self-custody model, it's the exact same thing. It's a self-custody messaging app. So it's kind of the same.
And I'm looking through your Twitter. I'm just kind of I'm also we pulled up some tweets because you mentioned about the sleep, and I noticed that you guys had reposted this tweet about how you didn't really get much sleep. You're probably averaging 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night. So we love a hardworking dev.
Yeah, dude, it's people don't really understand or realize the sacrifices devs make when they're actually doing projects like this. I mean, just a lot of stuff. I literally had to break up with my girlfriend because she just wanted too much attention and I have to lock in. And she doesn't understand that when I'm locked in, I'm locked in. I don't have time to cuddle. I don't have time to do anything, go to the movies. like that's not on the table. You know, like locking in and getting this project. I have a lot of people who are like relying upon me that put a lot of money into this project.
Hey man,
And
make
so I have to.
sure you take care of your relationships.
No,
You know, we don't
yeah,
advocate for you know, losing relationships over stuff, but
yeah,
no,
definitely.
that's good.
Yeah,
Love,
but the
love
sacrifice is there
dedication.
though. This is a big picture, in my opinion. So sometimes it's necessary to make sacrifices.
Hey,
for some people.
gotta make it happen.
Yeah.
So I do have a
On
question on
that-
how many users you have. Sorry, Chill. Do you have a
Yeah, real quick before we leave that. So on that note of, you know, this is kind of big. Just I want to get a look. I saw you guys reposted this tweet from Vitalik, and he also talked about encrypted messaging. So I wanted to just give us a sense of the big picture. Like, what's the big vision here? What are you going after? And why is it so important that it's something that's even coming up, you know, even from, you know, Vitalik's side? I saw you guys retweeted that.
Yeah, so definitely. So if you look at what he said, I'm not reading it just based off my memory. You know, he said that there's, you know, room for improvements, and he was like basically impressed with the way those apps are going. And so he was really like wanting an app to develop something that's, you know, basically super metadata resistant, and have a basically completely private sign up process. And so the reason why we were like, you know, rating that post was because we're like, hey, it's not the future. We built it. This is what we have. This is what the ping pong protocol has allowed us to actually do. So, you know, the reason why you rate anybody is for marketing, right? You want to get eyes on the project. You know, that's the reason why we kind of did a crypto token, is because obviously I'm in the crypto space from the beginning, but it's also for marketing. You know, you get eyes on the project, you get eyes on the app. And so it works both ways. So once the app is like published, then it's going to reverse the effect. So it's going to be like people who are using the app are going to notice the actual token in the project. So it's kind of like, you know, fits together in a way. So attacking somebody who has that much influence, that just donated millions of dollars to an app that, you know, still has issues, I think, you know, is kind of a no-brainer as far as, you know, getting someone like that's attention. Also, we've been trying to get, you know, Tolly and Mert and a couple other guys' attention since day one. So I just noticed they extended the hackathon, and I'm like, well, this is a perfect opportunity to have them look at our code base, because we're going to be submitting it to the hackathon. You know,
Got it. And so you guys have this product that you've built. There's a huge problem in the products that are already out there on the market, as identified by Vitalik here. And so you solved that problem. You're building an app. You're going to the hackathon. I even saw here that you guys received, you know, some funding as well. I believe it was in this tweet here. But I mean, I think Josh had a question.
That's not funding. Sorry, that's the other hackathon. There's two of them. That one's on the 9th. That's a submission to Solana, and that's an audit company. And there's like big backers and investors that are going to be there. But that's another hackathon. So we haven't had any funding. Everything has been through, like, you know, the tokenomics and just through my personal funds.
Got you. But still, you guys are looking for ways to get the code base audited, get everything verified. So, I mean, it seems like you guys have a really nice community here. I saw some of them were active in the chat. We're getting kind of rated here a little bit. I think Josh had a really good question around users that kind of reflect that.
Yeah, we have a
Josh,
few minutes left to go here, and I just want to talk about the token. I don't think the app is live yet, so you don't have any users yet. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the app, we have the beta out there. We have probably about 30-40 people in the beta group that have actually tested it and used it. So we do have the beta version, which is APK, and that's the extent of it. But when it gets on the
How
Play
did
Store,
people join the beta?
So they could DM me on X, but we did post about it with, I believe, a link in the past. But anybody that wants to try or go to the website, and you can just download the app directly right now and install it to your Android. It's on the website as well.
Got it. And do you invite your friends by, like, you know, putting their email in, or what? How do you get your friends?
Yeah,
it's always good to message someone, right?
So when you the whole process, when you create a contact card, it uploads it to the decentralized storage, and then it gives you a CID, which is basically your contact ID number, and then a PIN. So we did something really cool where it enables two forms of authentication, because the decentralized storage, you know, if somebody got lucky and they found it's fully encrypted, they couldn't download that file and then install it without your PIN. So you give the CID to somebody and then the pin to that person. And then when they do that, you'll get a friend request on your phone, and then you accept it and get the pin. So you could also, say, hey, what's your CID? I'll add you. And then you don't have to provide no information to that person except for your pin number. And then it basically gives you the ability to message that person. So it's like preventing basically spam. So you're not getting, somebody passed on your contact information to somebody else, and then you have 1,000 million messages in your archives or whatever, like Telegram.
It's a real pain point.
Yeah. So this is nobody can message you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And where did you launch? Did you launch through a Launchpad or?
Yeah, we launched through RevShare.
RevShare, got it. Okay,
that's
Meteora. Yeah, I saw you.
Yeah, he's a great guy. The owner, really close with him, so definitely been really supportive of the project.
Got it.
Yep, he likes to work.
And like I know you mentioned earlier, you're kind of the token was also kind of for marketing purposes and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Any integrations or anything that you have planned for the token itself?
Yeah. So as far as like utility goes for the token, we just did another partnership with the Perkins, and we purchased about 30 Samsung phones. And what we're going to do is we're going to pre-install the Secure Legion app, and we're going to harden the operating system, and then we're going to sell those devices to people that want, hey, I want a device already completely installed and hardened, and then we're going to use that revenue to put back into buybacks and burns. And then also, if you look at like Signal's model, for example, it gets millions and millions and millions in donations. Not saying that we're going to get that, but when we start getting donations from people who realize, okay, this is solving the problem that we want, a good majority of that's going to be pumped back into the chart. Because I really believe that at the end of the day, if you're going to start a token with an actual company, you need to treat that token just as important as the company, because it reflects what your company is. And if someone sees, oh, this is a really good launch pad, for example, but the token sucks, nobody's going to want to launch on it if it's tied to the actual name. So our focus is definitely going to be on making sure that we're taking care of that. The market's been a little bit rough, but we had a decent launch, and things are going to get better. It's really early. I mean, we haven't even got on the Play Store yet. We haven't got the exposure with all the news outlets that are already in the works. So,
and does the token have any tie to the IP of the code base or anything? Like, even, I mean, most of that I think is somewhat symbolic, but I don't know if you've thought of that.
As of right now, like the way that the app is built, there's only 3 currencies that are allowed inside of the app, and it's Solana, Zcash, and then Secure. So like when people are looking at the wallet, they're going to actually see the app in there, and people can make donations through the by buying the token is kind of what we're pushing. Hey, instead of sending us a bunch of crypto, just go buy the token. That way, everybody benefits from it.
Got it. And as I think we have to wrap here in a few minutes with our next segment coming up. But this has been a really great conversation. I really appreciate you guys coming on. But I guess the last question I had for you guys was just around like an SDK. It's an app by itself. But is there a way that maybe you can like integrate this into other products as like a chat feature, like on websites or on like just integrated into other products?
Yeah, so this can be integrated for other products. There can be a desktop version. There could be so basically, to answer that in a really cool way is like the ping pong protocol is so unique and special that it can be used for multiple projects. For example, we're going to use that to be able to send, the Apple Pay-like system by the bilateral authentication. So it could be applied for that. It can be applied for like voice communication. It can be applied for a bunch of different things, just that protocol alone. So that's kind of like what the secret sauce to the whole thing is that protocol that we developed. That's what we got the patent for. It could be used for like payments, voice communication, anything basically, related to some type of authentication system. So yes, it's possible to develop an SDK for somebody can plug it in, or as we're at that level yet, but they can go get the source code and use it right away if they wanted.
Perfect. Well, no, I really think that's cool. Love what you guys are building here. Josh, any like last questions that you had?
No, I think this is an interesting product. We've seen some of these apps before. At the end of the day, it comes down to user acquisition and, can you have enough people that you can message? And yeah, I mean, would love to see kind of also the token representing part of like the IP of the app itself, the technical IP in some way. I don't know how you do that, but we're seeing definitely a shift in the market where people are buying tokens that are tied to the IP or the revenues of the actual companies. So
Yeah.
but just something to think about. But yeah, I mean, keep cooking, guys. This is important tech that we want to be secure, want to be private. Privacy's hot. So
yeah, it is. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, and
no
I
worries.
guess
Amazing. I think that you had some really, really great questions. Really appreciate you guys allowing us on and giving us the time. It's real nice to meet new people and make new friends. And this is the most awesome space to do it, in my
Hey,
opinion.
2 former veteran founders, love that. So
Yeah,
good stuff.
awesome.
well, appreciate you guys, Wizard, Eric. It's been a great conversation. We know that you guys will continue to build. So, if you guys want to come back on the show, we'd love to kind of see how things develop on your side. But again, appreciate you guys coming through and wishing you guys the best. Okay,
Next
appreciate
time,
it.
maybe we'll send messages on secure.
Yeah, there you
when
go.
we come on the show next time.
Yeah,
Right?
that'd be
Once
tight.
I'm
Yeah,
a
definitely.
little smooth brain, so it's got to be in the app store first for me to download.
No,
it.
yeah, I totally understand. Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. See you guys.
Sounds
guys.
good, guys. Talk
Thank
soon.
you. Bye.
All right.
You guys are wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice.
All right.
Awesome team. Awesome team. Takeaways, Josh, anything?
Gotta get acquire users and
Yep.
would love to see
I think
it.
it's still early stage for them. Let me see what when did
Look,
they
I will say the secure community is totally legit. They've been all up in the DMs. The Perkins guy was really interesting. I forget his name. Do you remember his name? I can't remember his name.
Oh man. I can't believe I'm
He's
blanking
a really
out
nice
on-
guy. But anyways, that whole privacy thing is fascinating. So
I feel like there's a lot of layers to privacy.
Yeah.
And you know what? One question, if we had the time to ask it, that I wanted to ask was just about people would sacrifice convenience for or would sacrifice privacy for convenience any day of the week, right? Like they would absolutely do that. So I just kind of wanted to see how that will play out for them over time as they try to acquire users. But yeah, early stage, still a lot that's going for them. So can't wait to see what they do with all the hype that they have around the community.
We have the Chad, Bob, and Dimitri on, so we'll bring them up now. The legends, Bob
Let's do it.
Builder.
Bob,
how's
what's
it going, guys?
brother? Welcome back,
Hey.
sir.
All
Awesome,
right.
awesome. Dimitri, how you doing?
Good. Nice to meet you guys.
Oh,
Good to
you're
meet you
Bob
as well.
Builder, but in real life. There we go.
Yeah, he's actually jacked. I'm just pretend jacked.
It's for you. It's just your profile pic. Okay, got it.
No,
gotta be
appreciate
putting
you
that
guys
there
coming
always.
on.
Built for weight. No, my pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I guess, best place to start here, just kind of with your background. We can start with you, Dimitri, and just kind of introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you building? How'd you, what introduced you to the space and just kind of start there.
Yeah, sure. So I have a pretty broad background. Done a lot of different jobs. I started off before I moved out to the East Coast of New York City, I was managing a gym. Managing a training department too. Used to actually compete in bodybuilding. So I was about that life to begin with, and I've just kind of maintained it since. And then I went out to the East Coast and I worked in finance. I was a risk analyst at a brokerage for institutional clients and whatnot, like assessing derivative portfolios and working with, institutional accounts and hedge funds, like explaining how margining worked, liquidations, breaking stuff down technically. So learned how the sausages are made there. I've done a fair amount of writing for formal publications in a past life before I did the writing that I do now. And then after working in finance for a while, I moved over to B2B sales in SaaS, also in New York City, just selling fintech and whatnot to executives and kind of working that whole sales cycle. Then learned about, I knew about crypto. I actually had some Doge back a month after it first came out. I think this was 2014. But not a lot to be rich or anything, but enough to be happy that it, didn't go to zero. But I wasn't red pilled on crypto or I wasn't like clear pilled on, I should say, when I first learned about it. I got kind of psyoped by the word cryptocurrency, which is actually a misnomer I really dislike, because I actually thought they were just trying to be currencies, like the rupee, like the dollar and yen and what have you. And then it was in 2020 when I learned actually about Filecoin. And I was like, wow, this is a business. Like, I was a tech investor. I've always invested in like tech stocks and what have you. And because I needed to productively do something. What does this business do? How does it generate revenues? Why is it valuable? And the equity represents that. Like, that's always been my ethos, like my North Star. And so I didn't see the crypto as anything like valuable, potentially, just like, currencies are useful, right? But they're not like, you can't value them so much like you would a business. Then when I learned that there's actually business being conducted here, I was like, oh, okay, this is a new paradigm for finance and all kinds of cool shit. So then I got really into it. And so like mid 2020 was like the scales falling from my eyes moment, though I've been a fan since like, 2014, but very from afar and loosely. And then I spent the last 3 years or so working on a DEX project in DeFi. I left there end of last year to kind of start doing my own thing and working on Salutary and building this out kind of from scratch. So yeah, and here we are.
Nice. So pretty broad background, and Bob, it's been I think a month or two since you've been on. It's been a little bit. So we've had a lot of new viewers on the show. So just for the new ones that aren't familiar, go ahead and introduce yourself.
And also, Bob, give us your perspective on ownership tokens from when we chatted first time to like, now MetaDAO and all these things.
Well, it's the same view. I mean, all those things were cropping up back then, but we can get into it. Yeah. So like real briefly then for me is just that I did my PhD in chemical engineering, originally doing alternate solar technology, went out to a national lab doing solid state battery research for a number of years. And it wasn't until like 21 kind of fell down the crypto rabbit hole, and always drawn to new technology, right? I'm in science, I'm a researcher. So, started reading hundreds of white papers and got very enamored by what the technology could enable, and kind of went headfirst into all of it. And then slowly learned all the painful lessons of how much just grift and graft and scam this stuff is. So it's a powerful technology that could enable good things, but has mostly been a technology for parting people from their money.
Speculation.
And I had kind of fallen backwards into doing advisory work because in the space that I would formerly work in, it's all high risk stuff. Like we work with really dangerous chemicals and high pressure setups, very high temperatures. Once had like a ball mill when we're like milling these ceramic powders to make these battery materials, where when something malfunctioned, it like hurled one of these things like through the wall and embedded itself into concrete. There was a guy in the lab that he's working with the little battery cells. People don't realize how much energy is in them. And he's testing this tiny little battery cell, and the thing he overcharges it. And the thing blows up and shoots a piece of shrapnel like into his thigh, hits the artery, and like he would have bled out there in the lab and died if there wasn't somebody walking by in the hallway. Point being, we work with dangerous stuff, and so you're always looking at how does this go wrong, right? That's your mindset. How can this go wrong, and how do you engineer to prevent that? And so that had been a lot of my approach when I've been helping teams in crypto. I just see, right, all these things get wrecked, and it's like, why? Why does everything go to zero? Why do things fall apart? And how can you engineer robust systems? And then it was, always kind of racking my brain trying to figure out how can we solve these just kind of interminable problems in crypto. And then it was coming across Dimitri originally for his more philosophical essays. That had me interested in just reading the stuff that he wrote. And then when I saw what he was building with Salutary, I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This solves the problem that I've been banging my head against the wall for a long time in crypto.
Got it. So I guess this is a perfect place to transition. Like, what are you building, Dimitri? And just kind of summarize that for us.
So a nice summary of Salutary is, I think starting with like the North Star is a good place to focus. So it's right now the tokens are fundamentally second products. You have the business, the project. Project is kind of just a childish way to say business. I try to get people away from saying project. It's just like it's like a Peter Pan phrase. So you have like the business, the thing that's valuable, and then you have the token, which has no reason to exist. Like, it's just a second product, meaning you have to like justify its existence. You have to pour resources into it. You have to occupy your time and mental energy, financial resources, cognitive resources. And like, why does this thing exist? I don't know what it fucking does. Right. So it's like, this is a problem because like in the business world, the stock is in service of a business. Like, you raise capital with it, and then you don't have to like, it doesn't occupy your mental. So you work on building the best business, and that's how everyone succeeds. And the stock just does its thing, right? So like, the problem is that these tokens don't do that. The gas tokens are, as far as I'm concerned, the only investable assets in this whole industry, because they actually have a bearing and application, commodity like value accrual to the issuing underlying network, what have you. So Salutary's intent here is to definitively and concretely bind these tokens to the issuing company, such that the fundamentals, the financials, the success of the business reflect in the token, right? So how do we do that, like, compliantly and effectively, and without any games, without any like tokenomics, loop-de-loo, Byzantine, crypto kitty, like, people tend to think everything's a math puzzle in this space. I found they think it's like, they don't think it has roots to it, like a bottom-up understanding. They think everything's like a calculation. So the ethos is, how do we bind these things enforceably? We're the connective tissue between business and token. And so we do that by enforceably and legally enshrining enforceable control abilities, M&A abilities, into the token. And there's a breakdown on kind of how we aligned on that, which I can get into the history to it if you'd like. But the TLDR is Salutary tokens are the only rights-bearing enforceable assets that, frankly, as I'm concerned, exist in this space, by turning them into legal M&A vehicles over the issuing company. And I can break down how we do that, but that's the goal: give these things real fundamental value accrual and actual enforceable control over the business.
So as context, we've seen a few models. SOAR is using a senior debt note to represent kind of that fundamental tie to the underlying token. ERCS uses an SPV, or a Street Foundation uses an SPV. MetaDAO does it purely on chain with governance, better governance than any DAO structure I've seen in the past. Seems to be working pretty decently. Your kind of model is what? And
so
do you have a visual representation of it? I don't know if this is.
Sure. Yeah. And SOAR and Street are, kind of Salutary inspired secondary ones that borrow from certain M&A related things and do, like, they're directionally solid. I think Salutary's model is a little more elegant and direct on how we do it. And MetaDAO, frankly, I don't even think warrants inclusion in this discussion from what I know about it. If it doesn't have anything enforceable there's a difference between incentives and enforcement, right? And you can have incentives purely on chain. Like, you can have motivations to, hey, do this thing, there's a financial reward for it. That can exist purely digitally. You can't have enforcement on chain. Enforcement is kinetic. And I mean that like by category. It means you have to do something. And if you don't,
or you go to jail, right?
Exactly. Like, there's a physical punishment. You get put in a box, right? That doesn't exist on a blockchain, bar none, right? So you have to touch atoms in some respect to make something enforceable, which means by nature of computer is deficient from that lens. You can only have incentives if you're only dealing with computer. So that's why MetaDAO to me doesn't even include in this conversation. It's all some kind of like incentives-based motivation.
To be clear, just so that we're fair in it, MetaDAO's true structure is not very clear. It's not in their documents, but if you poke and prod underneath the surface, they do have legal documents that have to get signed, because they talk about actual IP from the company getting legally committed to be owned by the DAO. But you won't find that out unless you poke and prod and start asking the founders, wait a second, right, what actually holds this all together? And they, at the end, they'll be like, oh yeah, there's off-chain legal, documents that have to be signed for any of that stuff. But to simplify it down for Salutary, it's a governance token, but it governs one thing and one thing only.
Right.
And that is taking over the company.
Exactly. So like ours is, and there's lots of quotes throughout history of how simplicity is elegance, simplicity is sophistication. Da Vinci said that, Einstein said that. It's also a common theme if you listen to a lot of founder podcasts too, of like, past greats. Like, it's an ongoing theme. Things don't need to be this Byzantine circuitous maze. Like, things should be actually very direct when you look at their core mechanisms. Salutaris is very elegant, simple at its core. They are binding control over the issuing company and its assets under certain ownership conditions. So 51% is example. You have 51% of the token. It doesn't have to be that number. The partners can select higher or lower if they choose. But at that threshold, the holder of those tokens can effect a vote to acquire control of the company. And then those resources get enforceably moved over to a foundation structure that is put in control of that individual. There you go. Like, that's essentially how M&A works from like a proxy battle standpoint, and how companies get acquired in real life. Very straightforward. You don't need to layer this in like multiple abstractions and complexities. And when you do that is when you start getting problems, things start breaking, little anomalies or exceptions pop up. So at its core, that's truly it. It is enforceable control over the issuing business in the same manner that a stock does it, but only that. Salutary tokens are no promises of profits. There are no claims on cash flows or none of the academic descriptions of what equity is. No rights to profits, none of that stuff. They are control units over a business, isolating the core value accrual mechanism, really how stocks operate. But just that, and when you do just that, is officially just governance. And that's how we can do it in a way that follows, the securities framework, where we're respecting the letter of the law and not making any promises that we can't uphold. We're not saying any promise of cash flows, profits, all that. But that control mechanism is the meat of how real equity functions. And so by deeply understanding that, we can isolate that and enshrine it in the token. And I want to emphasize with salutary tokens are the native instrument of control. That means they're not wrappers of equity somewhere else. They're not derivatives of some other instrument on a centralized database at a brokerage somewhere working. And then this token is just a wrapper on that. Like, no, the token is the native instrument of control with salutary. That is the binding unit.
How is that? Is it in the metadata of the token, or is it like
yeah.
Like,
So
let's
this
say
is
I'm
one
a
of those
company, right? I got my, 100 employees. I make plastic molds. I'm revenue generating.
Any business,
I come to you guys.
business.
I'm like, look, I want to issue am I issuing new capital? Am I issuing am I taking my existing equity and letting you control my business, or Salutary control my business? Walk me through it.
Excellent question. So I want to emphasize too, this works for any asset with an owner. Several of the partners we're talking with are media companies like LA Film and Music Studios. One's a retail company, like no crypto nativeness at all. Like, the token is just a control instrument over a business, over a piece of IP, over anything. So we use crypto because it is the most effective paradigm for open finance, not because you need to be crypto native. Tokens are just great instruments for any business. So the way it works is the owner, the person who has the ability to transfer ownership of this assets to someone else, right? There has to be an owner in order for him to endorse something to say someone else can control this under certain circumstances. So this is not a math problem. This is not a computer program. Remember, we're talking enforcement here. Enforcement is not a digital construct. It's a physical one. So that means we have to touch the legal system. If we don't touch the legal system, that means we have to hire mercenaries to enforce things in real life. So it's like, you have to pick. How do you physically make someone do something? Like, how do you actually combat fraud? There's lots of history behind this. Like, TradFi went through these learning pains. So it's a legal construct that binds those things. When that founder comes to us and says, we want this token to be bound, we want it to have fundamental value accrual, they explicitly endorse in a very, very detailed M&A framework agreement with Salutary called our Master Service Agreement that says, in Singaporean court, in Singaporean law, which is enforceable globally, by the way, and I can break this down, these tokens under 51% on ownership threshold will allow the transfer of all of the assets stipulated out of the business moved over. That's the enforcement mechanism. That's the only way enforcement can happen, is if you have the backing of men with guns, to be quite literal about it. It's kinetic enforcement. So
Salutary token holders own 51% of the underlying business. So they're a controlling shareholder, basically.
If you own 51%, again, that's just a placeholder number, but 51% of the tokens, you can acquire control of the business. The ownership the control structure can be transferred over to you at that percentage threshold.
Yeah,
right. So the tokens go ahead.
Just to make sure with what you said, you were saying that, like, the token owns 51% of the company. It's like, it's not that, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the token wrapping 51% of the equity of the company. It is the token functionally supersedes equity. Right? The
Yes,
equity
correct.
owners are signing a legally binding agreement in which they bow down to the token, right? They're
Yes.
delegating that authority. So the only way to acquire the company is to acquire the token.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
The equity becomes effectively a second-class citizen with Scientary, because the equity holders, every 10% holder has to say, and we need everyone who can get in the way of M&A or block something and facilitate it to agree to this, because we can't have someone acquiring the token in good faith, doing what was specified, and then having someone decide, nah, I don't like this. See, that's the problem with not having enforcement, is if it doesn't go your way, if you don't want to, and there's no one, you can just, I don't want to do this, I'm not going to do it. You guys are going to complain about it for 2 weeks online. You'll forget about it, and I'll get away with it. Like, that can't be allowed to happen. Like, there needs to be repercussions for fraudulent, shitty behavior like that. Because once you have that stick and people see that that's not allowed, it goes away mostly on its own. Like, you always need that stick. And when you have a stick, then carrots tend to work, because the world runs mostly on carrots, right? You can't use sticks for everything. That's just a horrible way to live. But kind of the same way as when a country has a nuclear weapon, then okay, I can invade you. It totally changes the game theory of war when I know that nuke is there. It's the same thing with like our enforcement mechanism. Once you know that's there, you should ideally fuck around way, way less once the people see that, hey, there are repercussions for this, because if we want these to be institutional grade assets, there needs to be institutional grade support and enforcement of them, because big boys are not going to acquire 51%. And then the owners say, I don't want to though. I don't want to sell. I don't like this. So, and then the token loses all reason to exist, or everything falls apart if that's not there. So when that's there, then everything else can kind of grow on top of it.
Yeah, and so you're saying institutional capital will look at a Salutary token and be like, okay, there's rights to this token here that they can, supersede the business equity, and this now becomes investable because of that.
The whole North Star is who we build for are institutions. These are institutionally ownable assets is the goal here. Something a private equity firm would own, because if those guys will own it, anybody can own it. Those guys have the highest threshold, because they look at the they look at the docs.
Yeah.
They look at the equity framework. They're the ones who sue you in Delaware court. Carl Icahn is the one who rage proxy fights, then go to Delaware and say, you have to do this. And the Delaware court says, hey, buddy, you got to do this. You can't.
And to be fair, those types haven't been buying any ICM tokens, because none of this exists.
They're games. They're games. Like, there's a reason why Thoma Bravo isn't on chain acquiring MakerDAO tokens or whatever. It's like, they're not anything. Like, they can't, like, these guys need teeth to own stuff like that. They don't own vibes. Like,
to be fair to MetaDAO, Six Man Ventures said it's more investable than anything else they've seen in ICM. So they're getting there, but
I mean,
I don't. We're not here to get in the mud and mudslinging. There are things like here's. I think that all praiseworthy action should always be praised, and so I don't have to throw like, hey, I hate MetaDAO, whatever. I think there are beautiful things about the way they've done fundraising. I think they do an amazing job at communication. Yeah. I think that the concepts that they are working towards are good. What I would say is that they're in the process of the normal crypto way of reinventing the wheel and speed running financial history. That the process that they're on, like, oh, we can't do this all on chain, right? Because I asked them, it's like, well, how are you going to do this? Like, oh, well, we actually do have legal agreements off chain. It's like, oh, okay, right? So you guys recognize the only way this doesn't fall apart is with legal off chain agreements where IP is put into that stuff and enforcement. And eventually they'll figure out, I know this might sound condescending, I don't mean it to be, they'll figure out that the model of having your token holders vote on every decision you make to release funds is going to hamstring any visionary, because every good founder has had to make deeply unpopular decisions. And if you have a system that says, as a leader, you cannot make an unpopular decision, man, you're really, really stuck if you want to, if you are visionary, if you're pioneer, if you're trying to break something. If you're just trying to manage a restaurant chain, fine, right? And all you're like, that's fine. But people will butt up against those boundaries and find out why that type of system does not exist in the real world with real business.
I want to emphasize here. I want to emphasize here that, like, we exist, like crypto exists in this very insular world where it only looks within itself, and it will use catchphrases like speedrunning financial history, but then it will only look 3 months ahead and not 300 years behind to see what was already figured out. Like, these are not new problems. Like almost all of these problems are just really old and cyclical.
No,
We've
of course.
seen how past worlds figure this out, and we have to remember, like, what we're dealing with here fundamentally are different databases. Like, DeFi is a superior paradigm for finance, but the phi in DeFi means finance, and the databases are like, it's just a different place to custody assets. That's really all we're talking about here. And just because we have a new paradigm, an open access database, does not change all of the laws of finance and all of the things that have already been learned by our financial forefathers. Like what we have here with DeFi is a paved road and TradFi is a dirt road, right? Our road's better. It's an open database. It doesn't censor. It allows you to do things anonymously. Way better road. But there's not a question here of, well, does gravity apply on this road? Do we still need a car? Does the car need wheels? Like, yes. Like, just because you paved the road doesn't mean like the laws of physics go away. You still need to do the basic things to work, but it's a way better paradigm. Way better paradigm for finance.
I agree. And we've talked a lot about what makes the token investable from an institutional side. Maybe let's talk about the token issuer. Why would a token issuer want to choose Salutary? Back to my plastic molding example, I'm a company. Am I getting capital back from Salutary buyers, token buyers? Like, why would I digitalize my token using this product?
So the motivation for using us and for wanting to, enforceably bind, you have to remember, when you do this, you're also making yourself accountable in some ways. Like, there's a lot of ways to look at this, like, ooh, accountability. I might get acquired. Don't want this. You have to keep in mind, there's no such thing as an investable business asset that doesn't have that, right? The reason why investors part with their money in exchange for an abstraction, a stock or bond that they made up, is because it's accountable in some way. Bonds have enforceable covenants, stocks have enforceable rights. So you need that in order to be investable and actually accrue value. Like, accountability is a good thing. So your question can be answered really easy, and I found it helps with most crypto founders. When you swap the word token for stock, and you might say, well, why would I issue stock? Like, it's very intuitive why you'd issue stock, right? Like, even though it makes you accountable, like, you can get acquired with that, you can get your board kicked out with that, you can get a lot of like things that are nominally not great by issuing stock, but we know why we issue it, right? We need to raise capital, and it's what makes you a wealthy man if you do a good job. That's how billionaires are made. It's like literally with equity, right? That's the only way really billionaires are made. So it's the greatest form of value accrual mankind has ever invented, essentially, is equity. So we are enshrining the meat of that into the token explicitly and legally, where you don't have to deal with these old TradFi paradigms of issuing this equity or whatever. Like, this token exists in the DeFi paradigm, but doesn't forget or abandon the TradFi lessons and mechanisms of how things must work to allow value to accrue. And I'll finish the answer to this question with like one thing that I think will help with the bottom-up understanding of Salutary. Is throughout financial history, there's 3 core asset classes that accumulate value, and everything else you see in the world is based on those 3 things. There are commodities, which are intrinsically valuable, which means they're valuable because you can use them. They don't depend on a market price for their usefulness. Like oil, if it was $0 a barrel, would still power your car. It would still do something for you, right? There is credit, which is to say bonds. And what that function means is a cash flow swap. So I give you principal, you give me back interest payments, and you give me my principal back, right? There's a cash flow swap happening. So we have commodities, credit, and then equity, which is to really say control over a business. So you have the business is the thing of value, and the equity is only valuable because it controls that business. Otherwise, the equity has no reason to be anything at all, right? It's valuable because it controls the valuable enterprise. Everything else you see in the financial markets are predicated on those 3 things working. So futures deliver commodities, options deliver stocks, credit default swaps are predicated on bonds, how they work. Like, all of these derivatives and instruments we see elsewhere are based on those 3 things doing their thing. Even the rooms we're sitting in right now are commodities stitched together with a labor premium, right? Like, commodities everywhere. So like, you have to pick one of those 3 things for your token, because remember, your token is just an asset on a different kind of database. It's not magic. The rules of physics have not been suspended. You still got to be something. So are you a commodity, a legitimate commodity, which I would say gas tokens are? Those count as commodities. Are you a form of credit? Probably not, but that would be legit. Or are you a control instrument? And if you're not one of those 3 things, I literally historically don't even know what to call you. And this is where this kind of like utopian thinking comes in, where it's like, we're going to make it up. And it's like, we're seeing the byproduct of that kind of thinking right now, where we're not looking to history and function and form about what makes something valuable and just keep thinking everything's a math problem rather than saying, what core category are we? How do we enshrine that into our token?
Right. So I have my, okay, Chill. I don't know if you wanted to.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Like I have my plastic molding company. I know my shareholders, right? Like my equity holders, I've registered the business in the state of Florida. Am I giving equity to token holders? Like what am I doing? I'm trying to like understand, like, am I just issuing the rights to a court in Singapore? Why would I issue them to random people? If they're, am I getting capital back for that? Like give me,
So again, swap the word token with stock. Like when you issue equity,
so I'm issuing stock and I'm getting
you know,
paid for that, right?
Yes and no. Like it's not technically stock just from a legal standpoint. But when you raise capital, say you want to raise capital with a Sagitary token, like I want to start a business. I am going to give you an asset I'm making out of thin air in exchange for capital. It's like, why am I giving you money for that? What is this thing? You just made it up. Like, well, this token is a control unit over this business. So if I do a good job and I succeed, is why you're investing in me, then this control instrument you have will reflect, because if one asset can acquire another asset, the value of the acquiring asset must track the value of the acquiree. Like that's just simple arbitrage, basically, right? There's like so what options do. They deliver the underlying stock, futures deliver the underlying commodity, so they track. It's the same logic fundamentally. That's really why stocks track their businesses. So you are simply issuing a on-chain instrument, an on-chain control instrument for your business on a decentralized database in DeFi, as opposed to how they do it in TradFi, where they issue an equity instrument, which has other elements to it, but is fundamentally a control instrument on a centralized database and on a brokerage somewhere. So the equity that you have in your business is still technically there, because just legally speaking, whenever you spin up an LLC or a GmbH or whatever, like it has equity because that's how the world works right now. But when you apply Salutary to your token, that token supersedes the equity. The equity basically becomes a second-class citizen. And the way we do this is all equity holders have to say, yeah, we're a second-class citizen. The token is the thing. So the token is now what you want. The token is like what you want to represent that business. The equity still exists, but frankly, it's kind of an afterthought. It's just words on paper mostly, because that Salutary token is now the enforceable thing. And the Singaporean element only matters for the enforcement component. So say an acquisition happens. I'll stop there actually before I go on. Does that make sense structurally, like what the token is?
Let me jump in here to walk through the example for you real quick. So you gave the example of what kind of company?
Plastic molding company.
Okay, any plastic molding company. Okay, right. So let's say you're running this thing and you're making decent money. It's not massive profit margins, right? But you're making whatever. Let's say you're doing $1 million a year in profit. Say, hey, this is decent. And you think, man, I could expand. If I could open up a second location, if I could build out another actually plant, like you figure out like, oh man, if I could actually get another piece of vertical in here, we could really expand. Well, how are you going to do that? You have two options. One, or I guess you have three. Like one, you could just say, well, I'm going to save my money each year, right? I'm going to take my profit and over enough time, I'll save up that money to do that expansion. Two, you could take on debt. You say, I'm going to go to the bank and see if they'll loan me the money. Now that's going to be limited based on the size that you can do. If you're trying to do a big expansion, they're not necessarily going to give you that much. And you've got to pay that interest. They're now breathing down your neck. If that expansion doesn't turn out as profitable as quickly as you think, you can be in real big trouble, right? Because now you've used your business as collateral. And if you can't pay it back, they're going to seize that. The third is you can say, I'm going to sell parts of my company. You say, well, to whom? Usually that's going to be to like a private equity firm. Now for them, this is actually very popular, especially in like the HVAC and the mechanical business, where they say, oh yeah, we'll invest in this. We're going to buy up smaller companies. We'll then basically, syndicate them, bring them all together, gut out a bunch of your employees, and then sell this thing for a multiplier, right? This is a very, very popular run in private equity. So if you go to them for money, they're going to pressure you to do that. Where they say like, because they can start to exert control. So let's say you sell 10% of your company, right? You've sold the equity in it. Let's say you sell another 30, 40%. What can happen is these people They now have authority in your company, and they say, hey, we want you to run the company this way. We want to actually sell the company to Globo Homo Corp or something. And you're going to be forced to do that because you sold that.
Yeah,
So
the risks aren't new to what already exists with equity.
Right.
Like
So
that ability is already there, and it has to be there because that's why it's worth anything at all. Right. Like if you don't have that, what do you have? Like you just have a vibe. And that is the most important thing. And that's kind of the beauty of accountability, that we should run towards the light and not away, or pretend like this is some cypherpunk purity test. It's like, oh no, you're touching the legal system. It's like there's no other way to enforceably do something. And I mean that not as any hyperbole. I mean that like in the deepest possible way that you can. When I say kinetic, like as a physics word, like atoms have to move to make you do something that doesn't exist on a blockchain. So it's like you have to touch these things. You have to. And if you don't, you're always in the realm of like looping around in a circle incentives, which is what this space is. Where it's like, well, if we loop over here, then we loop over here, then we do some looping here, this number goes up. It's like a feather flying in the wind. You got to keep blowing,
right?
Because it's not flying, right? The second that gust goes away, it goes back down to where it should. And this is why it's such a preoccupied waste of resources.
The metaphors, Dimitri, are great.
but it's once you've accepted the grounding, right? I think one of your questions then, Josh, is like, okay, well, if your company, why would you have two options? You could just sell equity in your company. Why would you issue a token with Salutary versus just hit up a private equity firm and try to, sell to them? Say, what is the advantage of this tokenized instrument of control over traditional equity? And there's a couple key advantages here. One is that in private equity, if you want to do that, it is literally, right, that's a security. This is governed by the SEC. You're not going to be able to raise money except from accredited investors, which means you're making at least $200K a year. You have at least $1 million in assets, right? Sophisticated investors. It's difficult to do that fundraising. It's difficult to tap into. These are a lot of closed door rooms where these conversations take place. So from your aspect of raising money becomes difficult because the only people you can approach are going to be large firms that have very aggressive targets. They're like, hey, we're only interested in you if we can flip this whole thing, right? Gut and flip this. Otherwise, we don't want to talk to you. So it's very, very difficult to do that. And you're precluded from that. You can't raise money from a wide audience of people, let alone around the world. Yeah. The second is that it becomes liquid, right? That if you have something that's worth $1,000 or $10,000, but it's going to take you a year to sell it, that's not as valuable as something that you might nominally be worth $8,000, but you could sell it in a heartbeat. Right.
Liquidity premiums are very real things, by the way, too. Like there is that does impact the pricing of something, how liquid it is and how easily you can move in and out of it.
Totally.
And like the old TradFi paradigm and equity paradigm, like it works. It does work, but it's just very clunky compared to what we can do. Like, again, like we're a better paradigm for finance. We're a paved road. So like we're improving upon truths and axioms that have already been discovered. And wrapping the equity, sticking it on chain, or like what Bob's describing there, those work. That would work. It's just glacial. It's it's the most uninspiring way to solve this problem.
Yeah. So. I totally understand all this. Like, am I going to come to, so as an investor, am I coming to Salutary and I'm going to see a portal where I can go see the next issuance and it'll say, hey, send your money to this address, and then tokens will be sent back into my wallet at whatever valuation you and the issuer decide on?
So for the right now, the working term we're going to use for this is called the on-chain asset offering, where you issue the initial batch of however much of the control units of the company you want to put out there in exchange for capital. Again, and if you ask like, well, how much? Like, a lot of times we see we see this mindset of founders in this space, like, what's the community ownership? What's the, like, it's almost like a negative if the founding team owns too much. And it's like, is that ever a negative thing? If the founder owns too much equity, that's a good thing, right? Like you want them to be bought in. So like you should issue this token now, understanding its control over your business, not as a marketing tool, which is what we really see tokens as now, because they don't have any fundamental reason to be worth anything. You'll never see a business do a fair launch of their equity or their debt, right? Because it's actually really valuable and they know that. So when you, I'm sorry, what was your original question?
Yeah, sorry.
When it gets issued. So
yeah, like,
you do your initial offering of your token, how much you want to raise.
Yeah.
And then you do your thing, like you start building and working, what have you. And then Salutary also is an auditor, a financial auditor, and we work with you to do earnings reports. So right now in this space, no one does any earnings reports. No one, it's a very, very opaque industry, surprisingly, for being so open with the databases. No one knows what's going on with any bank accounts. No one knows how money's being spent that you can't see on chain. No one knows where the off-chain assets are, what the brokerage accounts are doing, which are not public. Like, can't see any of that. All right. Like, there's a lot of opacity in this space where you really don't know how funds are being moved around. Salutary attests to that. Like, we will also audit and speak to, hey, the earnings reports in a GAAP style, IFRS style report every 3 months of how things are going. And I mean, if you want the token to reflect your fundamentals, you should want people to see your fundamentals, right? It's very intuitive. So, but there's also an added benefit here of, like, a transparency that the business world had already shown us is necessary. Like, there have been a lot of problems around accounting scandals and business scandals and all this stuff. That's why we have regulations like Sarbanes-Oxley today. And so we are, again, speedrunning that. We already know what the answer is going to be. This has to be there. There has to be someone attesting that this is legit and these off-chain elements, because not everything's on chain, are valid. And then we help make that transparent and public for everybody. And, earnings reports, I would also add, are like, this is a very kind of sexy form of auditing because it's noticeable. Earnings reports in the financial world get everyone's attention. It's all the Bloomberg and CNBC talks about. So, like, this is a very useful marketing tool too, to, like, put yourself out there. Here's what I'm building. Here's how we're moving forward. The token represents this stuff. Like, all good things. So you will have the financial reports and stuff on the website of partners. And if they want to raise more capital, do a secondary offering, et cetera, you can do that too. How they issue the token is up to them. Same way how a company issues its stock is up to the company, right? They can issue more, they can dilute, they can buy shares back, whatever you want. It's up to you. But just keep in mind, if you dilute too much, if you issue too much, that token has teeth. So you shouldn't, you can get acquired if you abuse that. So it'll keep teams accountable. You can't just mint into oblivion. You're not just going to hand this out like candy. It's a valuable instrument that controls your business, and people's behaviors will act accordingly. And this is why we see a lot of corrupt behaviors in this industry. It's not because the people are inherently evil or what have you. It's because the assets are corrupt, and corrupt assets can be identified through corrupt incentives. And we can tell that these incentives are corrupt because they're myopic. They promote pump and dumps. They promote this manipulation. Whereas with stock, you actually want to hold it, right? It's valuable.
Yeah,
you don't just
I'm not
shred it
worried
and leave and move on.
So
once we fix these incentives, we should be able to fix all of these negative outcomes we don't like. But it starts with the assets themselves. Like, you have to be something. You have to do something. And it can't be like a white paper vibe that never touches reality.
Dimitri, I think you've really hammered it at home.
We incorporate into DeFi to kind of bring this to life.
I think you've really hammered it at home of, like, how important this stuff is. I'm just trying to understand so you're not issuing the token that is happening elsewhere. Instead, what you're test. Oh, am
I can
hear you, Josh. Dimitri, do you hear Josh?
I don't actually know. No. I didn't hear him once.
Maybe chill. Maybe can you relay?
Was I talking over him?
Just ask him if he has a
oh, sorry. I don't hear him at all. He's like a blank.
No, so he's asking about, he says that he's really understood the philosophical premise, right? The importance of this, but now just the details of, okay, what does this look like for a team? Is Salutary a token issuer? And the answer to that question is right now, no.
And do you have a team coming? Do you have a launch coming?
That if and he wants to know if there's a team and a launch coming. So right now, a team may choose to launch their token on any chain. This does not prevent anybody from doing any clever things they want to do with a token, right? You can be on whatever chain you want. You could, if you want to do staking, if you want to do holder rewards, if you want to do all these different things, nothing prevents that. And nothing prevents you from being in the chain you want, doing the launch the way that you want. And Salutary's services in terms of helping teams raise funds and do launches will expand to that. If a team says, look, man, I'm running a plastic molding factory. I don't know anything about launching a token. Can you just give me a template for this stuff? Like, yes, right. All that can be moved along and helped. But right now it is not a launching platform that is issuing the token. It is simply, and it can happen. So this can happen for tokens that are already live or ones that are going to launch. If you're a project and you're like, hey, we're trying to actually build a real company and we've been doing the best thing we knew how, but the token's just kind of in this nebulous zone. And for example, I'll without naming names, there's a I want to say project team company where they had interest from a high level. Sorry, you guys, we're getting close on time on it. But anyways, that's answering the question there of like, no, it's not a launch pad. And so teams are free to do what they want in creativity with the token. The binding thing is the legal agreement that just says it's giving the token this legal authority. In terms of upcoming partners, there is one. It's a token called Blinkbot, where it's allowing trading directly on Twitter, both in public and DMs. But they're fully on board with going down the Salutary route, where the token then represents control over that company. Because if you saw what happened with Padre, right, where they raised money, issued a token, used that money, built a business, and then sold that business for like $40 million to pump fund, and all the token holders got nothing. And so with this being this trading platform, it is legally impossible for that to happen.
Absolutely. We will bring hell down on, like, that's the point of all this. It's like, really, like, if someone pulls that, we have to go nuclear. Like, we won't, like, you're going to have to pay. Like, and once people see that, all the confidence and stuff shines through. It's like that's putting light in exactly the dark spots where it needs to be. To, Salutary will have excellent valence, because you should hate us and not want us if you have any intention of ever doing anything like that. Because when you come to us, you're saying, like, I'm a legitimate builder. I have you'd be no reason to come to us otherwise. Like, I'm building for the medium to long term. I want to build something valuable. I want to sell it one day, or I want to be a rich man and just like create value. Like, because when you do this, you're opting into accountability for that token, because you understand that's why it's worth anything at all. You're being an adult. And then you're saying, and the auditing like further reinforces the fact that I'm behaving with integrity and building something legit here. Like, investors and like fellow adults love that shit. And the reason why we don't see like people like, oh, no one wants to invest in DeFi. There's no way, like, there's no assets that speak to them here. They're all jelly bean tokens and like vibes looping in a circle. Like, why would Thoma Bravo come on chain and buy any of this stuff, right? So it's like, once you create assets that are ownable by these people, we know there's demand for this by looking outside of our crypto circle and seeing it in TradFi. Tons of demand to invest in real assets, right? So like, once you create that here, they will come. We've seen that empirically that they will come. So, that's what we're speaking to here. Like, we've had a lot of conversations, frankly. There are a lot of builders who are just as fed up and have the same message here. The conversations are in varying degrees of adoption. They're going to hit. Some are going to hit. They're just combos with lawyers and things like that, et cetera. But it's there. It's been rewarding to see it all develop. And, it's an inevitability. This has to come here eventually. So we wanted to come here first with us.
I love it, Bob. Maybe just relay this to Dimitri that we'd love to hear from your first project launched and whatnot.
Yeah. So Dimitri, Josh just basically said, look, would love to have you guys, relay your next launch. What you guys are planning, all that good stuff.
See it in real life. I think we got to see it to like understand it, kind of thing.
And I think that, and he also said, he also said he just kind of needs to see it to understand it as well. But honestly, I love your passion, man. I love your passion, love your energy. I think you came on here and you really gave us the breakdown of what you guys are building. So I'm honestly really excited for this next wave. There are very important conversations happening around this very topic. We literally just covered it at the start of the stream today, and this was like a perfect way to like cap that off. So really appreciate you guys pulling through.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Bob, for helping coordinate this. And I'm glad to come on whenever. I love talking about this, and I appreciate the questions and interest. And hopefully we can carve something out that's really cool. And glad to bring on the first one when they launched. We had one that was this close. Everything was signed up. Should have launched like a month and a half ago. They had extenuating circumstance issues not related to Salutary. So like, I do feel like we're close. And when that one goes live, like, I totally get it. Like, people just like to touch shit, right? They like, I get what you're saying, but they feel it. Like, so like when that happens, I think, the beauty of this is like, it shows up in charts, right? So it's like, you hear my story now, you can read the white papers, you can see, wow, this guy's really thought about this. This mechanically works. Excellent. But like, you got to learn a little bit. Everyone understands charts. So once we get like one of these things showing up in charts with earnings reports, we need one whale, one smart institutional guy to get what's going on here. everyone gets charts, everyone gets movements, and then it's like, then we're good. Then you don't have to fucking listen to me, and you're, that's all. I get it. Look at the chart.
No, honestly, literally, that's all it is. Once we see it, we'll get it. But no, definitely want to have your launch when you come on, when you actually have a launch coming up. Let us know. We can bring you guys on. Would love to kind of see what you guys are working on. But no, appreciate your time. Bob, thanks again for pulling through again. Chad, love what you're doing as usual. All right, guys. We appreciate your time. Talk again soon. Wow, dude.
Dimitri's a legend, man. Holy,
dude, what a combo.
I was like, either the law's gonna enforce it, or Dimitri's showing up at your house and saying you gotta pay people your revenue or something. I was like,
imagine.
I wouldn't want to be
wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of a bat.
Wouldn't want to be scamming when Dimitri's showing up at your house. That's for sure.
Oh,
I love
man.
it.
Now, I really like that. I mean, going back to our conversation that we had at the beginning of the stream, we have this conversation in crypto, especially these last few weeks, just surrounding like, how do we give these tokens value? Like, none of these things are actually valuable. And that's this whole ICM discussion that this entire stream is predicated on. And so far, just to categorize it for everyone that isn't familiar, I know we have the new audience with us as well. So you have platforms like MetaDAO. I kind of see them as a Web3 native solution to this sort of solution of intrinsically giving tokens value because of the ownership of IP, revenue, treasury, all that good stuff, decision over the company's direction, etc. You have SOAR that is also similar in that ownership token umbrella as well. But then you have like the Street, and I would even put Street and Salutary in the same bucket because it's more of a standard. And from what Street and Salutary have mentioned, it can be implemented to any token. It can be implemented to an existing token. It can be implemented on any chain, right? So I kind of see the world that they're envisioning. It's just more so giving tokens value through a certain legal structure. SOAR is doing it through debt. MetaDAO is keeping everything on chain, but ERCS with Street and now Salutary, they're kind of doing it through different mechanisms that can be applied to tokens that have even already launched. So, man, this is there's a lot being built, man. Like, what would this look like in 6 months? What is this going to look like?
The market is down, but I mean, like in 2022 when FTX was blowing up, like we were down bad and we had no proof that we would even come back. I feel like a lot more optimistic about where we're headed this time around, at least in this quote unquote bear market. But here, can we pull open some charts? Like CPT right now is actually,
dude, it's ripping, bro. It was ripping. Yeah, let me pull.
Let me look at this. And I accidentally hit back on the stream, and so like it unlinked some stuff. I don't know. I kind of glitched it. So sorry about that, guys. If that happened, I think we should be good, but
I mean, I think we should be okay. But man, look, this CPT chart is looking absolutely phenomenal. There's a few things going crazy here on the SOAR ecosystem. We can go through a few of those, but yeah, it's up about 75% off the bottom, looking really good. One thing I really appreciate about the SOAR platform is that although they have other launches, it's not like it's not a vamping effect, right? Where
that's what the concern was.
Yeah, but you see CPT pumping, and then if you notice, let me make sure. I think the chart is glitched on this one. I'm trying to pull up DFTV. I'll get the chart here in a moment.
Sorry about that, guys.
But you notice that, CPT is up, DFTV is up as well. I think we even covered that in a tweet earlier, and I'll have the chart up here in 1 second, guys, as soon as it's done loading. Let me see here, DFTV. And here we go.
Yeah, and let's go through a clean SOAR segment. We'll do the DD of what might be driving this PA. I think I know what it is, but
bang. All right, here it is. Let's go to the hourly. It's a little better there. All right, here we go. So here's the DFTV chart. So as you can see, actually showing a lot of strength here coming off the bottom. Obviously, with the involvement and everything that we covered on our last stream on Friday, we know that, look, this is just too good to be sitting at 350K. This is up about 151% off the bottom. So looking extremely well. And again, not vamping from the CPT chart, not vamping it, but actually adding fuel to the fire, if anything. So both charts looking really well. Excited to see what's to come for CPT. I know.
Just search the CPT ticker and let's see what might be driving this.
I'm actually about to go to Patrick's.
Yeah, Patrick Sang is a good spot to start on these.
Let's see here. Patrick Sang. All right. So here's his Twitter account. Let's go through and see if there's anything recent that he recently put up. Nothing that I'm seeing that's recent. Yeah, nothing that I'm seeing that he recently put up. But I'll search Twitter and see if there's anything that's driving this price action. But to be honest, you know what I personally think it is? I think it's discovery. You know, a lot of people, like, the SOAR platform has gone pretty largely undiscovered so far. The SOAR platform, not many people know about it. Not many people understand the DRP standard. I think this launch around CPT and Impulsor, that also went largely unnoticed by the broader market. There's a group of ICM believers that kind of pay attention, keep up with the ICM space and what's going on. But yeah, like, you know, this is pretty huge. But yeah, I'm not really seeing anything that's driving.
Yeah, this is just
this price.
Pure discovery right now.
Just discovery.
There's a couple elements here. Probably also there's a little bit of MetaDAO rotation happening, maybe to other ownership token narratives, SOAR being one of those. And then I just see this getting picked up on the timeline. Some people from China, I think there was some Korean. So it might also be getting out beyond just kind of like the CT echo bubble of North America and Europe. So,
I mean, shout out the prophecy by Kobe. Shout out the Chinese prophecy by Kobe, or I should say the Asian prophecy. He said that this cycle will be driven by, Asian capital. So, I've always kind of been on the lookout to see if that actually comes true. But I mean, look, either way, we know that Patrick Sang is deeply connected. We know that from a fundamental standpoint, CPT is rock solid. Looks like a company that can actually, grow, get acquired, and do great things. So the fact that I think it's just a catch-up game, and I think there's a group that's finally caught on. So let's see how things go. But yeah, looking very solid here so far. What else do we have on the menu? I like this. I know we just talked about DFTV, but I like this post here. I don't really know who this is, but I like because
I've been talking to this person too, by the way, over the weekend.
Oh, got you. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, because on our show on Friday, we talked about how, the co-founders of Tether are involved. They're invested.
At DFTV.
Yeah. They're invested, right? So he says it here. 3 of Tether's co-founders have invested in it. Its FDV is only 4.3 million, with 6% circulating and market cap around 240K. Forbes published an article about them in 2021. You can search PitchBook for Brock Pierce and the third co-founder, Reeve Collins. We know that Reeve Collins had a show that he did, a few episodes that he did with them as a partnership back in 2022. So just love to see that this information is actually starting to get out on the timeline. And I'm actually probably going to end up doing a few posts about this as well. But again, discovery. You love to see all of this happening on SOAR tokens because again, just really solid tokens that deserve the attention. Cool.
Yep.
So what else do we have? I'm noticing that a lot of things are kind of like bouncing a little hard. Just saying, Fartcoin is the only thing with green, only thing that's green on my trading view. But let's see here. We talked about ZC earlier. There's not much going on in markets. I know things have been pretty slow considering Bitcoin and the price action there. Anything that's on your radar, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, Viva passed 11,000 holders.
Oh, yes. I
think like even if the PA is kind of stagnant, I think people will take note of the holder gains and be like, it'll pop up on some radars, and then people go down the DD kind of rabbit hole.
I think that's the thing, largely a lot of people got burned by ICM, right? We've noticed that story where people just haven't found the right companies doing the right things, and they've essentially gotten burned by ICM projects that either failed or just didn't do anything. And then of course, believe in the, how that whole situation was handled. That also left a pretty bad taste in people's mouths. So I think right now for ICM in general, it's all about discovery. But when you look at Viva and you realize that, this sort of quote unquote discovery is happening in the real world, right? Like Viva is actually getting, is actually reaching more and more net new people in the space. Like this is real adoption happening right in front of our eyes. So I think it's something worth taking note of, something worth, something worth paying attention to as well. Because again, we've talked about Viva so many times on this show, but you guys should know already that we've been in a nice range on Viva for quite some time, and can
you pull the chart as well?
Yeah, it's loading. I'm just waiting on it to load up. I guess I'll just refresh.
And this 11K is looks like friends and family of the employees. So we're kind of going through these phases of rollout. Roll it out to people, get them to buy a little bit. Nathan said that the employees had already cumulatively bought 75K. I think we don't do this chart justice unless we price this in SOL. So I don't know if you can price this in SOL. Just click. Yeah, there we go. Look at that priced in SOL. Okay. So this is looking beautiful priced in SOL.
Yeah, it's actually it's outperforming SOL, and it's been it's shown a lot of relative strength against it. Yeah, I mean, look, we know the fundamentals around Viva are basically unmatched, right? So huge stuff in the works with them. I think the Meet Kai partnership is still going just like under noticed. But going back to our original thing just a few minutes ago, discovery. That's really the name of the game here. But with going back to the tweet that we mentioned earlier, that we talked about before we got started with some of these interviews, our space has some very key core issues, and that's poor investment protection, corporate governance, and a lack of long-only patient permanent capital. And that's what we're seeing here, especially with the Bitcoin price action. We don't have any long-only patient permanent capital. Like everyone's scared of Bitcoin and what it'll do tomorrow, so they're selling off today. But that's as discovery happens, as people kind of understand what's going on here with Viva, I think that the tune will likely change.
Yep.
But
7K wallets added, actually 8K wallets added since our stream on November 19th, covering Viva. So it's quite, one of the best ICM charts, priced in SOL, which I think you have to do in these market conditions.
yeah, so looking good there, looking absolutely phenomenal there. What else do we have? Let me see.
Let's do, we didn't do Solo and Umbra.
Yeah, let's do Solo. I know Solo looks good on the 12-hour. When you look at it on this, we drew this up last week, talking about the ICO price. And that was a great level to buy under. But when you do that, you realize that we kind of crossed a key level here. On the 12-hour kind of high time frame, you flip below it, you kind of tested it a little bit, broke above, back tested, and so we flipped resistance and turned it into support now. So really good key level here, around $1.03. But looking very good on this chart, looking very, very solid on the Solo chart. And I think we pretty much covered a lot of stuff during the interviews. If you guys missed the interview on Solo, you want to go back and give that a watch. Watch it on YouTube. You can easily find it as well if you search Solo on our Twitter page, at MCG Live. You guys should be able to see that as well. But man, Solo is a beast of a project, and it has a ton of just crazy underlying fundamentals that again shouldn't really be going unnoticed. I think a lot of people saw that's exactly what happened here. This just kind of went, and we told you guys, I'm gonna wait for the down only after the raise, and this is the place to accumulate these projects. And then bang, you just enjoy the ride up. Same thing happened with Avicii. Same thing will happen with a lot of these projects.
Yeah, and keep in mind if you go back to the interview, the guy mentioned one of his co-founders was like from the PayPal mafia. He did the PYUSD or PayPal stablecoin. So he's doing their BD and partnerships, and there's probably a series of announcements that haven't even come out yet. I'm just looking at Solomon Labs.
Well, he mentioned that there's a lot that's about to be worked on with Solo. There's a lot that they couldn't mention on our stream, but there's a lot that they've already done. Some of that legwork. It's just a matter of just coming out with the announcement. So there's a lot in the works here for Solo. So not one to ignore. Definitely one to keep tabs.
Yeah, a tweet that they just put out over the weekend. TVL is up 40%. We've just approved 500 new users. So it looks like there's some sort of gating going on in terms of slowly onboarding people. So I don't see anything else significant to report on this, but I think this is one of those where you kind of and I don't want to give financial advice, but you just kind of enter somewhere. You enter somewhere. Where do you enter here? I mean, what is this? 25-30% above ICO at this point?
Yeah, I mean, look, like we keep saying, guys, it's all about discovery, and we've seen this from when Believe projects were on Believe. They'd sit at 200K for weeks and months on end until they got discovered, and people realized, oh wow, this thing is going crazy, and it went from things would go from sub 100K to above 20 million in some cases. I think that happened to Avo as well. So I think that's what's happening here in the MetaDAO ecosystem. People are finally discovering these projects, but instead of them rallying from sub 100K, they're actually rallying just from sub ICO price. So if we do get a stab at ICO price, I think that's a great place to buy, but I don't know if we get there at this point. I don't really see, as long as Avicii continues to hold, I really don't see a reason for some of these charts to go down. As you guys have noticed, we talked about Loyal, we talked about Solo, we talked about a few others that really there's no reason why they're pumping. It's as far as, it's not driven by any news. It's literally that it's just pumping, and what that is, what that's telling you is the market is discovering MetaDAO projects. So I don't really see a reason for these new entrants into Solo to sell, especially when the fundamentals are pretty solid. So I mean, you know, if we get it, another stab at 103 would be nice. But this wick below $1 tells you a good indication of what demand looks like. So yeah, I mean, I'd just DCA. This is one that I would just DCA. I wouldn't just, put a whole bag into. I'd just kind of, maybe every day or every other day or every week, whatever works. That's how I would approach it anyway, not financial advice, but that's what I would do in a situation like this one.
What I also admire about MetaDAO is their liquidity pools are based in USDC versus Sol. I mean, I don't know if that's just the pool I'm looking at, but let's see if I go not Avicii, maybe use Solo as an example. Yeah, this is a USDC pool, a Meteora. So I don't know if that removes some of the volatility. I guess it must. I mean, that works both ways, but it must.
Yeah, I think it might. I think it might. Let me see here. Bang, there we go. Yeah, I think it might, but not honestly, not too sure. Not too sure. But it does decrease the volatility, right? Because of Sol and how it just kind of goes up and down. We've seen how that's affected charts.
Let's do oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I mean the price that you see on screen is referenced by the two tokens and their price relative to each other. So it would definitely, it does affect this. Yeah, I mean, I was been telling people that this is coming down and this is going to be interesting. I will link to the thesis here with Or strategy. Just privacy being hot, but Solana also backing this. Like, yeah, you cook for a second. Where would you enter in this chart?
This one is again, I think the approach would be similar. With this one, we could get a pullback. I mean, I've seen it. It's kind of getting exhausted here. If you look, let me just get so when you look here, not saying it's getting fully exhausted. Obviously, like it can go up, but you see these wicks to the upside. That means whoever entered down here at like 60 cents, they're taking profits, and these profit takers or these sellers, whoever they are, they kind of cap this upside here a little bit. And this is on a higher time frame. I like using higher time frame on chain stuff because it just gives me a better picture of what buyers and sellers are doing. And it's a little bit more reliable of a view. Let me just refresh this. I think this kind of glitched out a little bit. Yeah. So, but you see this wick to the downside right here, right? Dang, you can't see it there again. It glitched out a little bit, but there was a wick. There's a wick that it had to the downside that indicated there's some buy pressure. You see it here on the 12-hour. There's some buy pressure here. So honestly, I just draw a box in those wicks and I DCA starting there. So if there's where I draw the red box. Boom. This is where I'd start. This is where I'd start a DCA. You could even I would even start right here. But I don't like buying right after these right after price goes up. I mean, look, what is this, like 150%? 230%. Yeah, I don't really like buying like when something is pumped that hard. Ideally, here 105 would be a good place to, for me at least, where I'd feel comfortable, sliding in. This is a place where I'd feel comfortable getting involved here on this chart. But what I'd do, I'd approach it DCA 1 here, and then DCA 2 at the red box, and I'll even put DCA 2.
I love red boxes, Joe.
Let's freaking go. Let me put the text in white so we can actually see it. And bang. And that's exactly where I'd put it. Actually, let me put the bottom. Yeah, so that's DCA 2. That's DCA 1 up top. That's where, and this support line here is where I'd go the heaviest. Just because, look, I mean, it's at a really nice spot. Looks really good, you know. I mean, and then the other thing is in December, they also have their I don't know if it's mainnet or SDK, or there's some big catalyst coming in December. So that's why I'd kind of get involved, right? I'd start getting involved sooner than later.
Here you go. Here's the catalyst. Look at the Solana account right here, 3.6 million followers. Meet growing privacy and confidentiality ecosystem on Solana. 2 MetaDAO projects, Umbra and Loyal. So shout out to MetaDAO. I mean, just getting projects into the Solana account, 2 of them. What a win. So this, you know, I think you're right. This just comes down to discovery.
That's it. That's the name of the game right now. That's the name of the game for everything ICM related. ICM has gone under the radar for most of this year. If it wasn't for Believe, if it wasn't for Believe, no one would really know what ICM is. But if it wasn't for Believe, no one would think that, you know, ICM is in the state that it's in, you know. I think, again, that just kind of left a bad taste in people's mouth, and it just didn't really encourage them to look in any deeper. But when you have projects like Avicii ripping, you have projects like Umbra that have, you know, Catalyst coming up, you have other projects like Solo that have really solid fundamentals. It's more stable coin focused in such a volatile market. You have projects that, you know, have product market fit. They're already generating revenue, and they have actually something real to offer. It's a really great combination and a really good start to the MetaDAO ecosystem. So
look at this. Great comms, incognito mode for your money. Very simple. I think Profit has an eye for advising on, let's say, communications, because Avicii, same thing. But right here in the bottom right-hand corner, I've not noticed this, but you can see a DAO operating agreement. And if I toggle to that, you know, if you're listening to our Salatory segment, here is what the operating agreement is. So this is codified in law. I don't know doc ID. I don't know what exactly this is, where this is filed. Let's see, maybe down at the bottom, it'll say, crew, there's crew, sent, viewed, signed. Who's the counterparties here? Dropbox. Okay, so it's probably in the document ID through Dropbox. But I don't know where I'm trying to see if there's like a court or a law that is referenced here. Let me actually just search jurisdiction, right? Okay, right here. So being removed as member of a jurisdiction, let's see, of its incorporation. Oh, what's the line that they use?
I forget.
Okay. Okay. This operating agreement for Phoenix is a limited liability company, decentralized autonomous organization, incorporated as per the laws of the Republic of the Marshall Islands. So there you go. I don't know what the enforcement stuff is, but for those ownership token purists, and I think 90% people don't care. I don't know if this is how solid that is or not. I'm not a lawyer, but anyways, just thought I'd show that.
Yeah, I wonder. There's a lot of solutions coming. We see the street, we see the Salutary, we see the MetaDAO, we see the launch on Soar. But it's all about discovery, man. No one's here yet. No one's here. I think it's great that we're actually getting some of these solutions so early, because when markets actually do take off, we actually have something to offer, right? And going back to this post that I shared with you guys last week, I actually might have an ending for it now. So I might end up posting this a little bit at some point. And let me just bang, there we go. Like I ended up sharing this with you guys last week. It's been like bear market vibes in markets, and what that forces crypto to do is it actually forces forces teams, it forces projects, it forces, even if you don't want to call them projects, if you want to call them businesses, I like to say startups, it forces them to become more mature. It forces the market to mature. It forces the market to become more efficient, and it forces teams to actually come out with things that people want to buy. You can't really sell a narrative when price is going down, right? You actually have to fill some sort of gap in the market, and that would encourage or incentivize people to come in and buy your token. But all of that if you want to say conviction, or all that entire thought process around, man, we need to tokens need to be inherently valuable, that comes from being in a bear market. That doesn't come when prices are going up all the time. When prices are going up, no one asks any questions. But when prices are going down, people are then asking, oh, well, why are we buying this, et cetera, et cetera. So something to be aware of. And yeah, so that's that. Let's see what else here yeah, not much action
Yeah,
happening.
any tokens, guys, that you want us to look at? There is, not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, look, Bitcoin is down only on the day. Again, I just want to point this out to you guys. Look over here on the right-hand side of the screen. I'll even bring it out so you guys can see. Red, 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 green. Red, 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 red. Right? All these charts are red. The only thing that's green on the day is Fartcoin. That's insanity. Kind of tells you where the state of the market is right now, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I think this is probably a good place to wrap, unless you guys have any other tickers or anything like that you want us to share. I'll give you guys a sec. I guess what we can do in the meantime is just kind of go over the schedule for the week. So as you guys know, if you're new to the show, we are MCG. Follow us at MCG Live on Twitter. Love that name. Go and check out our links. We are actually just to briefly show you guys, just in case you're new here, we actually have a YouTube channel. We also have a TikTok, and we also post all of these interviews, these segments, these streams that we have. We post them on Spotify as well. So feel free to follow the MCG account. Hit the link in our bio to find out more. Use the code there for Moby in there. You'll get access to Moby Mobile. And let's see the schedule for this week. Let me pull that up for you guys so we know what we're getting into this week. We just posted about this the other day, so I'll be able to track this down here.
Might be in the, there you go.
Here we go. So we had Secure on today. We had Salutary on as well. Great projects, looking good. Tomorrow we have Fundle.fun. and we have Uplift as well. Tomorrow, the Uplift one, I'm actually more kind of interested in him as a person. We know that he's working closely with ICM.run, or not closely, but in some capacity with ICM.run. So, intrigued to see his involvement there, kind of get a sense of his background, who he is, what he does in the space outside of just building Uplift. Then Wednesday, we have Ranger Finance on, another MetaDAO project. So excited for that one. We'll have ICM Trader Radio. No doubt there will be some trades to talk about as we go through the stream that day. On Thursday, we have Foundation Labs coming on. This is another project as well. We'll be looking forward to having them on stream and digging into what they're building there. And then we'll also have ICM Radio, ICM Trader Radio right after. Then Friday, we have a couple friends of the stream coming back on. We have WMDR. We've had Chris on stream before, Waterminder. Great project. I know he's building a really good community over there, and there's some things happening. So excited to hear those updates. We know Karma, another friend of the show. They've been building for months and months on end. We've covered them a lot since they've launched, but looks like they have some updates and things that they want to share with us. So we'll be having them on. Later on this week. So that's the full schedule going out till Friday. Again, subscribe to the YouTube. Hit us up with Moby at invite.mobyscreener.com/mcg. Some cool stuff waiting for you guys there, cool tools as well. But we appreciate all of you guys for joining up. Look, Bitcoin's price is a little shaky, but as it stands, ICM builders are here. They're still building. Things are still moving forward, and we will be bringing the news to you guys as usual. Okay. But appreciate you guys. Love you all. We'll see you guys in the next one. See you tomorrow. Peace.
Peace.